Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Ohtani can jog in and an extra base hit from Marte. Here comes Acuna. A two-run double, 2-0 NL. Jacob Wilson played, and he goes after the first pitch. Flies it into left center.
Shoot, you're right there.
Come on, doesn't the center fielder get to take charge?
My lord.
He's on pace to hit 64. He bangs this one to the gap in right center field, cut off by Tatis. And he holds into a single. Heck of a play by Fernando Tatis Jr., who has transitioned from shortstop to right field.
Yeah, I try to bring as much New Orleans style to Texas. I learned a lot growing up in New Orleans. Been around a lot of good players. We have some other guys from the state of Louisiana with me at Texas, so it's been fun. And going back every year to Thibodeau, just the New Orleans culture and Louisiana culture is second to none. So it's always fun going back.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrist Federal Credit Union. That's Austin Jacobsen. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Headquarters today. Austin, how are you this morning?
Doing good. We were talking, it was a little bit just muscle memory, trying to remember which place we needed to go to today.
I know.
Location difference.
I know.
We figured it out.
Yeah. You ever do that where you're like, hey, I've got to go to this place. I've got to go to this place.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to go to this place. Then your car is just like, nope, we're going here.
Yes. Yep.
It's honestly one of the most. So I texted you like as I was leaving my house. I was like, okay, this is the place we're going today, right? So we're trying to make sure, trying to get our technical issues figured out. So we're trying a location today. Hopefully we are up and running for you the whole time this morning. Appreciate all your patience with us over the last couple of days. Shout out to the GOAT, Sasha, for helping us out this morning as well. Sasha, we doing all right? You making it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll survive, I think.
I mean, you're always up at this time anyway, right?
You're also going through injury right now. You're playing tough.
Yeah, well, if that's what you want to call it, I suppose. I'm trying not to move or bend. This is how I stood all day yesterday, just
Have you been sleeping in a chair?
No, I tried sleeping sitting up, with 17 pillows behind me.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work. I kind of just have to lay on my side, and then I try not to move the rest of the night.
I've for different injury reasons, I've slept upright in the corner of a couch before, in a sectional.
Yeah.
That's worked for me, if that helps at all.
So just to recap, the injuries from this week of the show were you were tired from golfing, and then Sasha got hurt on a lake, right?
Yeah.
Hers was an actual injury. I'm just soft.
2 hours into our vacation.
Oh,
actually.
No, it was right at the beginning?
Yes.
That's the worst.
Yeah. Well, and I blame my neighbor for tossing me. She had not tossed any of the other children, but the second me and my slightly older nephew got on the tube. Yeah. I'm also in my 40s, so maybe I shouldn't be doing that, but anyway.
No.
I mean, maybe you just need to tell her next time, be like, hey, children's rules for the people in their 40s. We're not trying to
consider it here.
We're not trying to go. We're not trying to start the X Games or anything here.
No. Although now I feel prepared. I wish I had a better story. Maybe I got in a fist fight or something.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean,
you could always start that.
I feel like breaking your rib while tubing is a pretty good story. It's better than me. It's just I'm 37. I drank too much, and now I'm really tired from golf.
For a whole week, mind you. Yeah.
My older brothers came up with a story that they had told me when one of them had their tooth removed, and so he had a gap for whatever was infected or something. And they had just said they got in a fist fight in the house and that they punched the tooth out. And so I believed them until I was probably 22. And they were like, no, that's not the real story. That's not it at all.
That's like the Ron Swanson move, right? Where he
just rip the tooth out yourself.
Yeah, he's like, sometimes it's a good idea to remind people in your office what you're capable of. I think we need to start implementing that down on first floor. Just every once in a while, somebody has to do something crazy to be like, hey, this is where we're at mentally. You just be prepared for this.
I still think we should have Kenny be like Terry Tate office linebacker, where he just shoulder checks people, just clearing a corner that you don't check.
I broke my hand one time. And this story is also dumb. The only other broken bone I've ever had is in my hand. I was landscaping, drilling through a wrought iron fence with a gigantic drill, and it jerked my hand because it got stuck and it just snapped it. I didn't say anything because I worked with all dudes. I'm I don't want them to think that I'm not tough. And my hand was this big by the end of the day, and my boss was like, "What happened?" But
Nothing.
Then
Why?
the story I used, because I had to be in a cast then for the rest of the summer, was just that I got I was training to be been in a UFC fight,
Mm.
Nice.
which is not believable in any way.
I think it is.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know. I wouldn't fight. I wouldn't fight Sasha.
No, I wouldn't either.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
She's scary to me.
Yeah.
Very intimidating.
For just so people are aware, apparently I didn't do a very good job of talking about this yesterday. I know I talked about it Monday, but DB will be back next week. He's at team camp with Westside. So he's coaching. He is actually going to join us today in the 9 o'clock hour to talk a little bit about things that we've missed or that he's missed or whatever. I think he just misses us.
I don't think he misses me. I'm gonna ask for just critical advice. I'm gonna get better today. That's been my whole goal.
Okay, just some notes, some show notes.
Right. Yeah.
There, no.
I just want to read back the tape, let Coach walk me through, tell me where I went wrong, see what we can improve. Right.
Well, where I went wrong was I was bad at telling people when DB would be back. So he will be back on Monday. And he'll be there.
Wow, Kobe, just so rude. All right, Kobe, that's man, giving up so quick.
No, it's fine. No, Kobe can do what Kobe wants to do.
That is
all
true.
right?
That is true. That's fair.
We still got our ride or dies like TK. So it's good. We appreciate that.
And we can get all of our guests this time too.
We're hoping. We're crossing our fingers that we will have
that now.
I'll say you really.
That was a bad beat.
You're taking like a home run lap while the ball's still on the warning track here. If we're going to use major league terms.
Yeah.
After the All-Star game.
Did you check any of the All-Star game last night?
I watched most of it.
Okay.
I did. Yeah. It
started to get late. I did a classic go on a late night walk because I was like, I got to find a way to stay up. So it's like 10 p.m. I'm just walking around my neighborhood with the dog. I do like a 1 mile lap. I come back. This thing's still going.
I did the mid-afternoon power nap
Nice.
because I was like, this thing's probably going to – honestly, it got done faster than I was expecting, which thank goodness for that pace of play thing a little bit there. But no, I stayed up for it. And did you see the very end with how they decided?
No, part of it was like I was locked in and then I had checked out and then I was just kind of out of it. And I do think – I don't know if I ever completely lost my consciousness, but I did not pay attention to what was going on. I was in the house. I was watching the TV. I had no idea what happened though.
Nothing registered at all.
No.
You're like, I did not process any of that information.
Yeah.
No, it was actually kind of cool. It was sort of think of like a soccer shootout, but with home runs, essentially. That's how they decided. It was a tie game after 9. That's how they decided to end it. And I know this is going to be a hot take. I sort of think that's how they should figure out ties in regular season games.
It was cool. It was very cool.
It is much better than the stupid runner on second base thing. And it's super easy. All you say is, hey, you just don't count any stats after the 9th inning. After the 9th inning, the game is over in terms of statistically.
Yep.
And then you determine a winner just by the little home run derby, home run off that they had. I kind of liked it. I thought it was a lot better than the stupid extra inning, extra base rule.
Yeah, and so is it too gimmicky to put into real play? Like, would you rather, like, if it's regular season, would you rather just see that to keep the excitement going and have people be excited to see that, or would you rather have it be implemented completely? Do you like it enough?
I don't think you do in postseason because
I don't think so.
That messes with sort of the integrity of the game a little bit. But you're going 162, like throw a little spice in there, you know, a little pizzazz. Let's have a little mini home run derby to end games.
That actually wouldn't be too bad because then you can get a home run derby at all these different, fields and cities across MLB. It'd be fun. It'd be fun to see.
I think it's fun. I mean, purists already hate the runner on second base thing to start extra innings. So like they're going to be mad no matter what. But honestly, I think if you just stop the statistics after the 9th inning and then do your little 3-player home run derby. And like, I thought it was great. Like I was thrilled about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great idea.
Well, and I think it was just fun to just be like recapping it this morning when I woke up and just watching it kind of like play out where everyone was like, what do we do? And they just kind of all looked around. And even I think the announcers even said it too. They were, we're going to go to a break and figure out what's going to come next. And then they came back and then they had everything all lined up and it ended up pretty well, I'd say.
Listen, it started a little rocky. People didn't know exactly what was going on, but we've done that in the NFL too, where people didn't know the games could end in ties. Like the people playing the game aren't always the best rules experts here, especially on stuff you haven't done before. But no, I thought it was actually super fun. I'm a big fan of how they decided to do that. I hadn't read about that ahead of time, so I didn't know that was coming if there was a tie. So I was actually super excited about how that played out, and I think they should do it. Let's do regular season, or at least try it out in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that's how
why not? Yeah, I mean, that's what you should do. I'd love to see a Storm Chasers home run derby.
That's what
That'd
I'm
be a lot
saying.
of fun.
Like, that's where they try everything out anyway, right? Is they
Mhm.
try it out in the minor leagues and they try it out like in an exhibition like this. I'm just saying, let's give it a go. Not for postseason.
Yeah.
Postseason, play out the extra innings like normal, but regular season, why not?
Yeah. And I do understand, too, like you said, with the baseball purist attitude and mentality when it comes to it, that some of the people that were at the game or were watching last night probably wanted more baseball to actually be played.
Yeah.
Some. But that stadium was already kind of being vacated as it was going on, too. It was late, and it's the middle of the week.
Well, especially that's East Coast, so
Yes.
you're 11:30 at that point.
Right.
Also, it's like it's an exhibition. That game is ending after 9 innings because they run out of pitchers after 9 innings.
Mhm.
Like that, there was no baseball to be played after that, right? So you might as well have something fun. But again, a regular season baseball, how many times are we actually talking about this happening? And is it actually worse than starting with a runner on second? Like that to me seems more, because those stats count.
Yeah.
Like you start with a runner on second, that goes on your ERA. Like that's kind of messed up as a pitcher who's like, well, I didn't give that guy up. Like, what are we doing here? I don't think there's a problem with it. I don't think they'll do it because baseball, let's be honest, isn't that aggressive with change. But I think it would be fun to watch.
Yeah. And I mean, to kind of go back to that same point, I think just for fans and everything, you want to get more people into baseball, introduce this as just the regular season solution, right? Because I think most people do agree. We love free baseball. We love free extra innings. We love free overtimes, all that stuff, right? It's a common phrase, but baseball has always had the crutch against it that it's too long, that it's too slow, and that their solution when you go into the extra innings is to add the runner on second. Why not just give them an immediate and quick, hey, this is going to be over in X amount of batters, essentially. Like we're just going to run through a lineup. We're going to see how far we can get. And
pick 3 guys, each team, go. That's it. Boom, we're done.
I almost would like to see it almost like a PK shootout. Where you go like 1 for 1 and whoever can, you just measure distance or something the entire time.
That's kind of what they did essentially. You have each team kind of go back to back, and I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think they did something. Sasha would know this. I think they did something similar with hockey a few years back, where they started doing shootouts in regular season games. Is that correct?
No.
No.
Well, that's not necessarily true. So in the playoffs, you like are required, like you have to until there's like a
you play
solution to the
overtime
game.
until it's done.
But I think I might be wrong. Someone's going to correct me, but I think you do 1 overtime, and then if nobody wins in that overtime, then you go to a shootout,
right?
And that determines the winner.
Yeah.
But I could be totally wrong. Let me look it up.
I think there is. I thought a few years back they did change that. There's at some point during the regular season there's shootouts to kind of resolve the game, because I think regular season hockey games used to end in ties. Like, I'm not crazy, right? I'm pretty sure that's a thing that happened.
Yes.
Okay.
So now that's what I was missing is the 3-on-3. So if a game remains tied after 5-minute overtime, in regular season, it goes to a period of 3-on-3 hockey. A shootout determines the winner.
Yeah. So there you go. Like that.
So they'll do a period of 3-on-3 now versus full team.
So I guess the equivalent in baseball would be like they play an inning of extra inning baseball, and then if they don't do that, then they go to the home run derby. Which, listen, I'd be fine with that too. I think it'd be an improvement over the current runner on second model. I think that's intended.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Yeah. I love ties, though. I wish we could bring back ties, and especially college football, because with the format and everything we're trying to get into with college football playoff and how much that can mess stuff up, no one likes a tie in the moment. But ties are just downright hilarious when you look back at some stuff, too. Because even, in vaunted Nebraska history.
What a hot take.
Right? I love a tie.
Austin loves ties.
I love ties. I think they're the best. More of a bow tie, personally, on my appearance.
That actually makes sense.
But again, like Nebraska football is like one of the crowning achievements is the fact that they didn't go for a tie to be handed a national championship, right?
It's true.
And it's hilarious that that's the scenario that got brought up, that, well, we don't have to win this game to be able to get it. We just can't lose it.
It's true. Right? I do appreciate DK says no, bad AJ. Just smacked your nose like a dog. I do appreciate, that is like one of the biggest parts of like Nebraska lore, right? Is Tom Osborne going for 2, like winning the right way. I appreciate that for sure. I am not here for ties. Like I'm not about that life. I do. That kid's wild here. It's like, I'm here for ties.
I'm shocked that you think that wouldn't be hilarious. I mean, come on. Like we've been talking like such staunch SEC talk this week as well, just because of the media days and everything that's going on. But if Alabama and Georgia tied and they had to determine like they had a 9-0-1 record going into, week 10 or 11 when they're both playing Mercer University and they're having to figure out, okay, well, who's going to the SEC East side or who's going to the SEC championship and all that sort of stuff. I think that would just be the confusion would be very comical. I would very much enjoy just seeing that brought back. And I know it's not going to happen. I just want the chaos. I
think you're going to get the chaos anyway.
That's true.
Because they're out here at SEC Media Days talking about the 5-11 model. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. I don't remember if it was Monday or yesterday. We're talking about the 5-11 model versus the automatic bids model. And I'll be honest, like, I was getting annoyed with Greg Sankey and kind of his propaganda that he was putting out early in the week. But Shane Beemer just took it to another level.
Yeah, we should have let all the coaches speak.
And not everybody needs
not everyone needs a microphone. People have told me. I've been told that many times this week.
Not everybody needs to talk. Shane Beemer on the 5-11 model said this. There are some years where legitimately in this model, 7 SEC teams would get in. Mm-hmm. It might mean that there's not 4 SEC teams or 3 SEC teams, but it also might mean that there's 7 or 8 SEC teams one year. 7 or 8 SEC teams. And so, I thought to myself, before I just had a gut reaction and wanted to roast Shane Beemer for being an unequivocal moron, I was like, you know what? Let's check. Let's check real quick.
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's see if he's correct.
Let's at least do the research before I get mad about it. And guess what? I'm going to get mad about it. So I went back through every year of the college football playoff.
Okay.
And there was not a single year in the top 16 rankings, which we already know that the SEC gets artificially overvalued in these rankings for the CFP because of all this Ponzi scheme nonsense that we talked about yesterday. Mm-hmm. There was not a single year. They've done this for 11 full, I think it's 11, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 11 full seasons now. There is not a single year where they have had 7 teams in the top 16. Not once.
And he did say 7.
He said there's years where legitimately they would have had 7. That's just not accurate.
Okay.
The most they've had is 6. That happened once, and the 6th team was Texas, which is a Big 12 team. I don't care what conference they play in. That's a Big 12 team. Okay. There are more years that they have had less than 4 than that they've had 5 or more. They've had in 2022, 2021, 2017, 2016, 2015, they had 3 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
There were 2 years where they only had 2 teams in the top 16 of the college football playoff. Okay, not 7 or 8. We're not even in the neighborhood of 8. Shane Beemer. We knocked on the door of 7 last year because they stole from the Big 12, which is fine, whatever. But we are. This is why the 5-11 model cannot happen. Because the propaganda machine for the SEC will be like, 8 teams deserve to get in. And so I went even deeper because I was like, okay, let's just see. Maybe the college football playoff rankings aren't the best way to do this. Yeah. I went back and looked at every standings from the Southeastern Conference since their founding in 1992. There is not a single year in which 8 SEC teams have finished with fewer than 5 losses. And there's also not a single year where 8 SEC teams have finished with 4 losses or fewer and an above 500 record in conference. Not a single year. There's only a handful of years where even 7 teams finished with fewer than 5 losses. We're talking, I think, 6 out of the 33 years of their existence. So when Shane Beemer's going up there talking about 7 or 8 teams, this is why we cannot have a 5-11 model, because there's this narrative that's going to get started where they're trying to normalize this idea in your head that 7 or 8 SEC teams in the playoff is not just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Because it is. There is no world in which that has ever been a realistic thing.
And let me be clear too. I'm going very quickly scrolling through old college football playoff rankings. This doesn't apply to any conference.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't apply. Like, this is not just an SEC conversation. This is across. Even like I was going to try to make a pitch for the Big Ten, but in the recent years,
absolutely not.
I'm to 2021 right now. You can't find in the top 25 of the college football playoff rankings leading into the final, like basically the semifinals when they were the Final Four, or the 12-team playoff that we had last year. There is not a conference so far that's actually had more than what you said, about 5 within the top 16 range to be able to guarantee yourself a spot in there. And of course, that doesn't include the conference champions, the group of 5, all that other stuff. Doesn't matter, because if you don't have 5 in the top 16, you can't get to 7 in the top 16 then. Yeah.
We can't even have this conversation. And that's, again, even with the conference of the SEC already being artificially inflated.
Do you know what's actually the closest one? I need to see if I can find the year again.
Was it the Pac-12 one year?
It was the Pac-12 one year, and actually, weirdly, the Big 12 another season where they had, I think this is 2022, they had Utah, Kansas State. Oh no, this is the wrong year. But there was another year that they actually, the Big 12 ended up having like quite a few teams in there as well.
Yeah.
And that would have actually included Texas and Oklahoma as well in that scenario.
Yeah, I just don't understand, like, this is why we need the guardrails.
Yeah.
Like, this is why the guardrails have to exist, because the SEC cannot be trusted. Like, that's just full stop. The SEC cannot be trusted.
And this is also why you can't just hand the power over to, and affirmatively, really, you can't, the Big Ten has to fight this fight, but you can't just hand power directly over to the 2 biggest conferences with the most pull, because if they control the conversation, it will be their conversation from here until the end of time.
I mean, honestly, my biggest issue with the automatic qualifier model, besides what DB always brings up, and that's the conference games not being aligned. Like, I think that's a legitimate issue.
Yep.
And obviously a real sticking point here for the Big Ten and the SEC. But the biggest issue for me is I thought 4 auto bids was too aggressive. Like, I thought 4 was too many for these teams to guarantee, because, as I mentioned, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years out of the 11 that 4 teams from the SEC weren't in the top 16.
So would you feel better if it was less of a number, or are you not comfortable with any type of auto bids for certain conferences?
Auto bids the only thing I am comfortable with, because when left to their own devices, the SEC is going to politic their way into having way too many teams, and it's going to end up being a crap product.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem here. That's part of my frustration with the what's happened with the NCAA basketball tournament is you have these power conferences be like, oh, it's so much harder to be us. Our below 500 teams should be in the tournament, where you've got like St. Mary's out being 32-4, and they're like, sorry, you're out.
Yep.
Like,
and a team like North Carolina, a great brand in the college basketball world, will usually get the benefit of the doubt more often than not.
I mean, you get like these 9 and 11. I think there was a 7 and or like an 8 and 12 team that made the tournament this year, and like, you had your chance, you had your opportunity to prove yourself against teams that are going to be in this field. You lost, you're out, and that leads me to what Kirby Smart tagged on yesterday. He goes, the thing that he's got an issue with the 9 league games is he needs assurances that the CFP selection committee isn't selecting teams based on the loss column alone. Like, I get alone does a lot of heavy lifting there if you're going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but you're telling me that you're so good that you can't afford another league game because you might lose?
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here?
And then what are we, maybe the point that's somewhat being missed here is, what do we want from this college football playoff? Is the goal to get the best 16 teams in, or is the goal to have more teams from your conference? If you're from the conferences argument, right? Is the goal to get as many teams in as you can, or is the goal to have as many of your teams advance as far as possible? Because in the model that's currently being set up, if you don't have the auto bids and you don't have the automatic buys, which didn't really help too many of the teams this past season, but if you don't have those set up, the more teams that you have, the more teams you actually have a chance to just compete against each other and eat each other out until you get closer and further down the road. I mean, we saw this model just this last year where Ohio State actually benefited from the fact that they got to play a home game against a team in Tennessee. They got everything corrected from their last regular season loss because they didn't play in a conference championship game. They were able to then take that confidence into the Rose Bowl where they dominated Oregon, a team that the Big Ten, I'm sure, would have been very happy to not have to play another Big Ten team.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, of course, Ohio State would end up winning. But then the Big Ten has every reason to celebrate because on the opposite side of that model, you had Penn State that also got a home game, took down what a lot of people would have considered probably one of those teams that maybe shouldn't have been in an SMU. They rode their way the rest of the way, beating other teams that weren't a part of their conference and took their road in their own path. If you get 7 SEC teams, and you're Shane Beemer, and you believe 7 SEC teams are in a 16-team field, do you really think that there aren't more chances that you're just going to be competing against the same teams you've already seen this season?
Yeah, but that's kind of the point, right? I'm assuming, I don't know this for sure. I'm assuming the college football playoff payouts kind of do pay the same way that NCAA basketball playoffs do, where the more teams you get in, the more wins you get in the tournament, the more money you get, the more share of the money you get, right?
Yeah,
so
all the revenue dollars.
If you're a conference, your main goal should be to get as many teams in as humanly possible. Like that is, so I get why the SEC is doing it, but I don't understand why no one is standing up and being like, hey, this is stupid. What's happening here?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense. And maybe that's what the Big Ten's doing, and they're just doing it more quietly, or maybe we'll see it come out next week at Big Ten Media Days. I hope so. But the Big Ten can't afford to quietly take the high road on this. Like they need to get down and fight the SEC.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to end up with 7 or 8 SEC teams in the college football playoff. And I know people think they're being hyperbolic or exaggerating or whatever. If you let them, they will ram 8 teams into the college football playoff. I guarantee you. Like they will shove that down your throat and say, hey, look at this schedule that Kentucky had to play. And I know they're 7-5, but oh my God, look how many teams they played. And it'll be like Tennessee, who's 8-4, and it'll be Florida, who's 8-4. And be like, see, look how much we beat each other up. This conference is just too good. And that's not the case. There's 4 great teams and 12 mediocre ones. Like that's all it is.
Yeah.
And that's the problem here. Like if you're the SEC, your goal is absolutely to get as many teams in as possible. If you're everybody else, it's to put guardrails on this thing so that the SEC and the Big Ten to a lesser extent can't run amok, because the Big Ten doesn't.
So you don't want more Brett Bielema's in the Big Ten?
No, listen. I think we need more Brett Bielema's in the Big Ten who will actually pick a fight with the SEC, and or even punch back. Like the
Big. Not only did he win it on the field, but then he also took it all offseason long. And he's been very, very open and honest about how he feels about this.
The Big Ten is way to take the high road in these situations. Like, I get that we like the classy, whatever, and that's great sometimes. Yeah. But when the SEC is out there just bludgeoning you in the public eye, you have to go fight back.
Yeah.
Like, that's your only option left.
Yeah.
And so I'm afraid what's going to happen is one of 2 things. Either you're going to get the automatic qualifier model and the SEC will refuse to go to 9 conference games, or they'll go to 9 conference games and you're going to get the 5-11 model. And every time they have a team with 4 or 5 losses, they're going to be like, oh, they deserve to get in. We went to 9 conference games. That's what it's going to be. And I don't see a world. There's nothing that the Big Ten can give the SEC that will get them to 9 conference games and auto qualifiers.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing something huge here, I don't think that world exists where the Big Ten gets both of the things they want. I think they should prioritize the automatic qualifier model so that the SEC doesn't get to bully teams in and make it the norm that they get 6, 7, 8 teams in. You can always try and fight the conference game front later. And I know that's going to make DB mad when we talk to him, because that's like his pet peeve is like, hey, everybody's got to be playing on the same playing field. I get that. I feel like you can go get that later. I don't think you can go back once people are used to seeing 6 SEC teams in the college football playoff. I don't think you can.
And there's never been the opposite conversation either, right? Like the SEC doesn't turn to the Big Ten and say, why don't you just change to 8 conference games? Because the Big Ten says, no, because this is the standard across college football. Everyone does 9 except for you. I don't know if the Big Ten ever considers that. They're just like, what if we just went to 8 games and then, the 2 biggest names in college football, I know it would look like appeasement to the SEC being, bending the knee to them, but would that change the course if you said, hey, listen, we'll give up the 9-game conference schedule just so that we can even out and be completely fair on our fronts? And if everyone else follows the same model, and then we can get the type of college football playoff format that we would like. I don't know if that's the type of appeasement that you can go for, but I don't think that that's the right way to go about it. I think the 9 conference games is fair because it's the process that's been going. And you're probably right that if you're going to try to fight one of the battles, I think instead of putting your resources into both, just try to go right after and guarantee which college football playoff format you think is best.
I think you have to go AQs first, and then you can fight the conference thing later. Listen, I honestly don't think the SEC probably ever is going to go to 9 conference games until they get something so sweet that that it's worth it to them. I think part of the reason the Big Ten wouldn't go back is I do think it's part of their deal with Fox and the Big Ten. Like, they get more money for the 9th game.
Yep.
And the SEC can get that money without the 9th game. So they sit there and they go, okay, well, we're already making more money than you. We don't have to add an extra game. And we're going to make even more money by getting extra teams in the college football playoff because we're not playing the 9th game.
Yeah.
Like, they're having their keep cake and eating it too in the SEC. And the Big Ten needs to force them to eat their vegetables, for lack of a better metaphor.
Get tall and strong like the Big Ten. Have some asparagus.
Got to get that spinach in there. Interesting question on the chat here. Mark says, do you think the ACC and Big 12 are on the 5-11 plan because the ESPN pays them their pressure to go with the SEC, with the ESPN promise that they'll get a little help in the committee? I don't know, Mark. That's an interesting question. I think that the Big 12 and ACC are just thrilled that they're not left out in the cold, and that they'll do kind of what I think they'll go along with whatever they think it's the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
I think they're sort of just front running here because they think it's going to go 5-11. And I think they're just sort of front running with the SEC and going that way. But I mean, if you're the Big 12 and ACC, you're sitting in a position where neither of these are great for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're getting 2 auto qualifiers in the, or is it what's the 4-4?
Yeah.
What's the math here?
Okay, so it's the college football. It's like the 4.
It's like 4-4-3-2-2-1.
Something like that. Yeah. Is it 1-1 or something? Like one is at large and the other is like a group of 5. It's something like that. Yeah.
So the 3 at large, the 1 is the group of 5.
4-4-2-2-1. Is that right?
The 3 is the at large.
Yes.
So I mean, if you're the Big 12 and the ACC, you have to sit here and you go, okay, I'm probably never getting more than 2 in anyway.
Yep.
Maybe I get 2 in with the 5-11. Maybe I get 2 in, or I definitely get 2 in with, like, it probably doesn't make a huge difference if you're the Big 12 or the ACC. You're probably in the same boat regardless. If I were them, to me, it's probably ego on their part to say, oh, well, in this model, we could get 3 in.
Yeah.
And that's just never going to happen.
Well, and see, the other part of that, too, is that it's a long-term problem because if the Big 12 or the ACC, I think the Big 12 is probably the stronger conference and probably moving forward, I would think that they might be too. If they end up having 3 teams that could qualify for a college football playoff because they scheduled, Big 10 or SEC schools, eventually those conference schools are probably going to be recommended, hey, don't put these Big 12 teams on schedules because if you get an 11-1 UCF and you get a 12-0 Kansas State and then you get a 11-1 Iowa State and they have out-of-conference wins against Iowa, if they have out-of-conference wins against, Tennessee or whoever it is, it doesn't benefit the SEC and the Big Ten to keep scheduling those games because it's like you've been saying from the start of this conversation, it takes those spots away from other opportunities for the 2 biggest and most powerful brands in college football in terms of conferences to then have their teams in that conversation. So it just becomes this straight ripple effect that I think eventually you're going to see. Probably Minnesota is going to be recommended, hey, we know that you'd love to schedule a close game against maybe Iowa State, or you'd want to get a game in a non-conference against Clemson or someone like that. But we're going to recommend you don't schedule those type of games anymore, because what if you go 10-2 and you get butted out because you lost to one of these lower tier schools that came from a conference outside of the Big Ten or SEC?
Yeah, absolutely. Travis mentions that he goes, I get that. I hate the idea of having multiple AQs per conference. I agree. In a perfect world where I trust everyone involved, 5 and 11 is the better model. Like, I agree with that 100%. The problem is you have too many entities that cannot be trusted in this scenario, whether it's the College Football Playoff Committee who has, I mean, listen, this is, I think Kiffin said this yesterday, which is maybe the only smart thing anybody said at the SEC Media Days yesterday. It's insane to have ADs associated with schools that are campaigning for teams. And I get
except for Troy Dannon. I'm glad that he's there.
I get they recuse themselves. Like, I'm glad that he's there if this is the nonsense we're going to do. But no AD should be in that room. Like, you
because just inviting the conversation into the room for it to even be like, oh, hey, well, Troy's got to walk out because Nebraska, we're discussing Nebraska. Just even having to say that at all is ridiculous in its own right.
Well, and not just that, but okay, it still benefits Nebraska to get more Big Ten teams in there. So maybe Troy Dane doesn't get to talk about Nebraska, but he gets to talk about Ohio State and Oregon and Michigan and Penn State and whoever else, Illinois, whoever else might be in this conversation. So you're sitting here and go, okay, there's still direct benefit to these ADs to campaign for their conferences. Like it's absurd that they are allowed, that these are the people making the decisions.
And we don't have anyone else in the college football world that can handle this except for ADs.
Apparently, they don't have
the
anything.
Only people who can get bonuses in their contracts for having their school represented in postseason play are the ones making the decisions for this.
Yeah. So what could go wrong there?
Yeah.
Like there is like every one of these people has a vested interest in like campaigning for certain teams to get in. So I don't trust the College Football Playoff Committee. I certainly don't trust the SEC. I don't trust ESPN, who I think has an outsized influence on who makes the college football playoff because they own it. Like all of the people in the decision-making tree, except for the Big Ten, I don't trust. So if there's 4 people making the decision, the SEC, the College Football Playoff Committee, ESPN, and the Big Ten, 75% of that is not trustable. It seems like the Big Ten's the only one sitting here saying, hey, we're trying to do what's best for college football. And everybody else is saying, hey, we're trying to do what's best for us right now. Not even thinking long-term, because let's be honest, a lot of this is we're going to try and decide things now that long-term may not be good for us, but we see dollar signs in our pocket today, so we're cool with it. Long-term, this is bad for everybody to screw this up.
Yeah.
But we can't see past 3 feet in front of our face to be like, oh, maybe this isn't a great decision. And maybe this, maybe in 10, 15 years, however long the contract is for the College Football Playoff TV this year, like maybe 10 years from now, that we aren't going to be as good. And we're going to have a couple of those years that we had in 2016, 2017, where only 2 SEC teams make it in. Like you can't see far enough ahead of yourself. And maybe they're just saying it's like, oh, we're going to rig the system enough with ESPN that'll never be the case.
Right. Yeah.
And again, that's literally the entire problem.
And if you want a great example of this, and I know people are probably just like sick of hearing all of the David, the Big Ten should form an alliance. Absolutely, they should. They've already done it once, right?
Would you like to form an alliance with me?
But when we get into this like further model, this whole base of this conversation, if you disagree with what you've been saying about how ESPN has been, changing kind of the conversation and how the SEC controls the narrative, Miami was an ACC team last year that probably had the best argument, other than losing their last game of the regular season, to get into the college football playoff. And they were surpassed multiple times in conversation by 3 SEC schools. And Miami probably had just as good, if not maybe better, of a resume than those other 3 schools in Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Alabama. All 3 of those schools weren't included in. But Miami was always the afterthought. And people were like, well, you could put Miami in there too if you don't include SMU. No, Miami just had as good. They had the number 1 overall draft pick. If you want to talk about brand, Miami, the U, and you want to talk about profile of players, the coach, everything. Who wouldn't want to go see Miami in the college football playoff?
Miami has 0 influence.
But they didn't have any influence on their side, and they didn't have an ESPN network behind them to be able to support them and boost their type of the argument, where all we heard for that entire week-long process, or however long it was how Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina making arguments for South Carolina to try to jump over some of these teams.
It's absolutely wild. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. Ole Miss getting their head beat in games that they shouldn't have. Oklahoma losing in games they shouldn't have. Alabama losing in games they shouldn't have. Like, you sit here and you just go, okay, at some point, we have to just actually look at the games as they're played. That's the argument that I hate against the SEC. Is like, oh, well, they're better. And it's like, well, they didn't win the game, so how do I know that?
Yep.
Right? Like, it's just a slightly better version of 3-9 in 2021, and Nebraska's like best 3-9 team of all time.
Well, that is true.
It's like, cool, that's great. What trophy do you get for that?
True. Yeah.
Nothing. You still have a 3-win season on your record. Like, congratulations. I'm glad you were really competitive. That's great. At some point, like, if we're not going to actually play the games and the results aren't going to matter, talking to you, Kirby Smart, I don't want them to focus on the losses too much.
Yeah.
Like, if the games aren't going to matter at some point, like, let's just throw in college football 26 and play it out on the simulator and like be done with it.
Yeah.
I watch that stuff on TikTok sometimes anyway. Like, let's just do it. Like,
yeah.
If the losses aren't going to matter, it's going to be like, oh, well, we recruited the best, so clearly we're the best team.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Then go win some freaking games.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's too hard? We're not going to do that. Oh, I don't want you to focus on the losses too much, guys. Kirby Smart's saying this.
Yeah.
From Georgia.
2-time national champ.
From Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one being like, oh, don't focus on the losses too much, College Football Playoff Committee.
Or, better yet, don't lose.
Maybe that's an idea. Like if you're as good as you want me to believe you are,
don't lose.
Maybe win the games.
Yeah.
Like you have more margin for error now than you ever had to still be in the national championship conversation after a loss or 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like at some point, I have to draw the line and say, hey, you're just not good enough. Or, hey, the season didn't, like, how many times have we seen teams and we go, oh, man, they had that one trip up, but I actually think that might be the best team in the country. But they didn't even get a shot to play for it because that's how the system was at the time.
Oklahoma State in 20, whatever, Brandon Whedon and all those guys. 2007, yeah.
I mean, I'll bring it a little closer to home. This is, I think, before you were born, but.
Whoa.
Maybe. No, maybe not. You're like a year old. 1999 Nebraska.
Yep.
One of the best teams in the country that year. They had one trip up. They had one loss in that season, I think, to Texas, if I remember right. I might be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up not getting a chance to play for the college football championship because Florida State and Virginia Tech went undefeated. Do you think Virginia Tech had a harder time navigating the ACC or the Big East at the time?
Big East at the time. Never forget.
Than Nebraska did the Big 12? Probably not. But they were undefeated. They got their chance. They had their star in Mike Vick, and they got to play for a national championship. Nebraska and Florida State were the 2 best teams in the country that year. Mm-hmm. I can feel like I can say that unequivocally. But guess what? Nebraska didn't win the games they needed to.
Yep.
And is that a little bit unjust in a, hey, you lose one, you're done such an scenario? Yeah, but we're not living in that world anymore. Mm-hmm. We're talking about you losing a third of your games and still having a shot to get in with a 16-team playoff. And now you're telling me it's like, well, don't focus on the losses too much. Come on, SEC, like pull your heads out.
It's just so the sport that I love more than anything, college football in its tradition, its pageantry and everything. The argument used to be, how can we get a group of 5, the Mountain West, the MAC, the WAC back in the day when Boise State was winning Fiesta Bowls? How do we get them more involved to be part of the national conversation? And now the conversation has completely flipped where no matter what, we're like, group of 5, you've got your bid, but we're more worried about how we get the big dogs back in, how we get all these. So it's no longer about college football. It's no longer about leveling the playing field and giving everybody a chance to win a national championship. It's how many teams can we shoehorn into one conversation each and every year?
Pretty much. And it's the worst. It's the worst.
It is.
And it's I'm terrified that this is going to go exactly as badly as I think it might.
Yeah.
And we're going to end up with just this cluster of a college football playoff, and we're going to have to live with it for a decade until the TV contracts runs out.
Can you imagine it today? You're settling into your couch on a late Saturday in December, and you're just figuring out which game you want to watch. 8-4 Tennessee against 7-5 South Carolina.
I can't wait. It's going to be great. But at least we'll have the 2 best quarterbacks in the country, and DJ Lagway and Lenora Sellers. At least that's what I'm being told. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk to Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. I do believe the phones and the stream is working today, so hopefully you'll be able to get that. Brian Christopherson should be here. Andy Kendeigh, KETV, will be at 8:30. Mitch Sherman from The Athletic at 9. And then I believe we're going to get a chance to talk to DB at 9:30 when he's done coaching this morning as well. That is the lineup here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. We will be back with more in just a minute.
Cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Avery Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan, and you know, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full-ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centrist Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals. With a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centrist Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
What makes Banana Ball work so well in terms of the fans, the support, and everything that's gone with it?
I think it's just the breaking down the barrier between fan and player. When you go to a Major League Baseball game, even though there might not be a barrier, it might just be a net, there's a distinct barrier where like players and fans don't really interact during the game. And we're bringing fans onto the field, into our game. Like every fan that comes to our game is going to be involved somehow. Every single one of them. They're all going to be involved if they want to be. So I guess that's my advice too. When you come to a Bananas game, be open to doing anything. Don't say no to an opportunity. My niece actually, we do a fan warm up before every game. We have a little girl come on the field and dance, and the whole stadium follows the dance moves. My niece said no because she was nervous. And to this day, every single day I see her, she's like, I want to do the fan warm up. I want to do the fan warm up. So like, when you come to a game, just be open to doing whatever.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrist Federal Credit Union. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Headquarters, reminding you if you're on the roads this morning, get those seatbelts fastened and make them click. It prevents injuries and saves lives, but only if worn properly. Make it click. This is a message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Also want to give a shout out. Happy National Hot Dog Day to those who celebrate.
All who choose to celebrate today.
Especially our Lord and Savior, Joey Chestnut.
An animal. World's greatest athlete, Joey Chestnut. I stand firm on that take, too. And arguably greatest American.
our greatest living American, Joey Chestnut.
I'd agree.
What says 4th of July more than Joey Chestnut eating hot dogs? I'll wait. I'll wait.
A bald eagle.
No, bald eagles exist every day.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think like a bald eagle flying over a firework, eating a hot dog, something like that. lands on George Washington's shoulder. Something around those lines. Something like that.
Got bad news for you. Spoiler alert here.
Whoa. Don't tell me.
George Washington no longer with us.
The Dub is dead?
He's no longer with us.
What?
He's been gone for quite some time.
You're kidding me.
I am not. I'm 100% real. I am for real. Anyway.
In real news.
So,
hey, speaking of fun stuff that's going on, will they serve hot dogs at Fan Day?
How do you get your hot dog, AJ? How
do I get my hot dog?
Yeah, what's your toppings of choice?
Usually I go to a store to buy them. But what?
How do you eat it?
How do I eat it?
Like, what do we?
I actually go. There's some people who love the char of a hot dog. I love a good, just like boiled one. There's something weird about that. The hot dog water.
I actually do. I think prefer that over the char. I get too much grill flavor. You can't taste the hot dog.
I'm pretty casual with it though. If I'm just at a normal barbecue or anything like that, I'll just go straight mustard. I'll sprinkle some ketchup in there every once in a while if I want to feel like a kid again, but try not to make it too serious.
Okay.
If I get my full acumen out there,
you doing like a relish?
No, I'm not a relish guy, but I'll do the pickle spear.
Oh,
you do a little pickle spear on the side.
Like a mini Chicago dog.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, I like that. And then that's like my ultimate way to go. So if I'm doing like the deluxe dog sometimes, because we dabble in dogs at the old Jacobsen household, we try to. But when we get that going, that's what we try to.
I thought you were going to say at Hurrdat because it's
we are staunch.
We're a big hot dog company.
We are a big hot dog company here.
Big hot dog company here. Yeah.
Which I was happy to find out. I think there's too many closeted hot dog people out there, right? Like when we get into like barbecue season, we're deep into barbecue season, right?
Yeah.
Like so many people are always talking about briskets and pork loin.
Grill out season.
Sure, whatever.
You don't barbecue a hot dog.
Look at me. It's a barbecue. All right. What do you want? That's my barbecue. Okay.
Continue.
But too many people are getting into like the briskets and they're like, oh, I need to smoke this meat for 18 hours. They want to do like pork shoulders, all that. No, just a hot dog, man.
Give me a good dog.
Simple.
Keep it simple. Dog.
If I showed up to a hangout that had a grill out
cookout
that only had hot dogs, I'd be game.
Yeah, I'd be totally fine.
Yeah, right.
I'd be totally
fine.
And
honestly, I don't even need sides. I think I could just go straight dog.
Ooh, what are your favorite sides?
Barbecue sides.
Wow. Cookout sides.
Cookout sides.
Cookout sides.
I've been big on like the macaroni and corn like casserole.
Macaroni and corn.
Yeah, you ever seen that?
God no.
What?
Macaroni and corn?
You don't know what I'm talking about?
Together.
Yeah,
in the same dish.
And it's so you do like macaroni, corn, and then it's like melted together with all this cheese. You never seen that before?
No, that's disgusting.
You don't put the breadcrumbs and stuff on top of it.
Disgusting.
It's basically casserole at that point.
That's literally a casserole. You just described exactly what a casserole is.
Macaroni and corn casserole.
Horrible.
You never heard that?
Horrible.
I cannot believe you're actually going to say that that's bad.
I've heard of it. It's good stuff.
Thank you, Shane.
He's from Iowa. That doesn't count.
Well, Shane and I also have another thing in common too.
What?
Very.
Putting corn and macaroni is some.
What's wrong with corn and macaroni? Macaroni's just pasta, dog. What do you mean?
I don't want corn in any of my pasta. That's disgusting.
Okay, well, I'm not exactly making like the Mona Lisa of pastas right now, right? Like I literally said we're gonna nuke it with cheese and put breadcrumbs on top of it.
That's terrific, and just leave the corn out. We're fine.
I'm also a big coleslaw guy.
Asian Wyatt says Little Smokies.
I don't want to hear about from Asian Wyatt. I know you got something for us.
Little Smokies are barbecue. Listen, big Little Smokies guy.
Yeah,
Little Smokies are terrific.
There you go.
But no,
crockpot version.
Corn and macaroni is horrifying.
I'm gonna bring some macaroni and corn casserole, and you will see the first floor of Hurrdat Sports just eat that up. Eat it up.
What does the rest of the first floor of Hurrdat Sports have in common?
Very talented and hardworking.
Minus me, Rico, and Kenny.
Oh, so not talented and hardworking.
Travis says corn with macaroni sounds about what?
That's what I said. I'm not disagreeing. We kept the Velveeta inside of our cabinet.
Bro.
Pull that brick out and just plop it down. I cannot believe you're so against this.
Corn and
After it was an open package, you put it back in the cupboard?
No, you don't put it back in the cupboard.
Well, I know you're from Western Nebraska.
What is that? Oh, we don't have refrigeration in the panhandle, Sasha? Come on. You think we still put the salt block out for the horse? We do. That is true.
I mean, the horse got to have something to lick. TK says, AJ, please stop giving prudence to white people can't cook. We can't beat the allegations because of you.
I don't understand how this is my fault. What I'm describing is good. I got to find a photo of this. I can't believe every time I've served this, every time I have made or served this, people go, ballistic over it. It is cleaned out.
There is nothing white people love more than putting a fruit or a vegetable into a dish that does not belong in that dish.
Did you know corn's actually a fruit?
That's why I said fruit or vegetable.
Okay.
Thanks for listening while your co-host is talking here.
Listen to you every damn day. What more do you want?
It's true. I would like you not to put corn in things where it doesn't belong. That is, I mean, if you ever roll up to a cookout or something and there's something in like
You think this looks bad? You don't like that?
I think that looks horrifying.
Are you kidding me?
I can already feel the disgusting texture of biting into, like trying to get a scoop of macaroni and biting into it, and then I just get that disgusting corn texture in there.
Oh, not for corn, huh?
Not in my macaroni, dog.
Interesting. Not for corn.
Absolutely not. Listen, I'm big corn on the cob guy. Corn on the cob is great.
Yeah.
Love
like
nice
corn on the
grilled corn on the cob. Quit putting it in stuff where it doesn't belong.
Okay.
Quit putting in stuff where it doesn't belong. Disgusting.
Okay.
Make it
so corn on the cob. What do you put with your corn on the cob?
Butter.
Okay, butter. And you don't season it? You don't even put any salt and pepper on that thing?
I have no idea how people cook it.
You don't put any spice or anything on there? You don't char it up?
No. Well, I said grill it.
Yeah.
Grill it, put some butter on it. That's it.
Interesting.
Doesn't need anything else.
Now, I'm not suggesting you just throw like a slice of cheese on corn on the cob, but like, come on, man.
You're trying to put cheese on corn on the cob?
No, I said I'm not trying to.
So what are you suggesting?
You're trying to get me canceled twice in a week? This is insane. What's happening here?
You're the one that's like Memorial Stadium, terrible atmosphere. This is how it feels, by the way.
It's fair. It's a good point. They should start serving macaroni and corn casserole at Memorial Stadium. I feel
how
better
the
about
turntables have turned.
Yeah, they have turned indeed. This is disgusting. I cannot
It is
believe
disgusting. I agree. I'm glad that you finally agree with me.
Knock it off. I hate this.
Corn and macaroni is so gross.
No.
Like I might need a trash can in the break. This is disgusting. Corn and macaroni.
Why are you doing this to me?
I'm being serious.
We've been friends this whole week. You supported me.
Corn and macaroni is so gross sounding.
I cannot believe this. I'm asking BC, and he's going to be on my side. And you can't use a cop-out joke for it either. If he agrees.
I don't know. BC went to Omaha North, so he might have better takes than you.
I mean, BC's also very smart. And much better of a human being than I am.
Different demographics than Sydney, I think, at Omaha North.
I couldn't control where I was born and lived. I couldn't call up Papa and be like, hey, can we move to the metro area at 6? I didn't get that opportunity.
Is Papa dad or grandpa?
My father.
Oh gosh. I was just asking. I didn't know. I didn't know if it was like a pop situation.
No, my grandparents go by Grandpa and Grandma Jake. All right.
Okay.
I've never get to break. Get out of here.
Just keep your corn out of my macaroni. Brian Christopherson coming up next.
At Centrus Federal Credit Union, we understand that the journey of building your own business typically starts with modest beginnings. With a little help from our team of experts and small business loan offerings, you can take your vision and transform it into a more concrete reality. Centrus Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that. Give me that.
Johnson went back, comes in, she makes the catch, and it's a chance for a game-winning double play. That's how it ends. The Arkansas Razorbacks are headed back to Super Regionals.
What kind of goes through your mind as you're preparing to give that final speech?
It's the worst speech of all time because you don't want to rehearse it because then it sounds like you knew it was coming.
It was 12-0. Like we were kind of anticipating, okay, like this is gonna end tonight. Like nobody wants it to, but it's going to.
10, 20 years down the road, the wins and losses, you don't remember them. All the success is great and it is very memorable, and those are part of the good memories. But I think the time we have together on the bus, in the locker room, at practice, on the field, are what lasts a lifetime.
You just go out there and you look those kids in their eyes and try to articulate to them how much they mean to you and this program. And then when you finish and you stand there and watch everybody, and it's hard. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Here with Nebraska Volleyball, Skylar Pierce. Skylar, you're just telling me this is your second year helping at Harrison's camps. You told me there's a lot of kids here that even recognize you. How special is that for you?
It's so special just because you never really understand the impact that you're making on people, but when you come to these events or like even the other sporting events, you just can see their face light up, and it's just such a wholesome feeling.
Yeah. Why is it so important for you and this Nebraska volleyball team to give back to the community?
Nebraska does so much for our team, the fan base, everything. Like, they love our team so much, so the fact that we get to come back and like hang out with these kids that just love the sport so much and love hanging out with us, it's a really cool experience.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live. Here is Husker 24/7 senior writer, Brian Christopherson.
Yeah, you got guys and walking into Ace Hardware without their shirts on.
Brian Christopherson.
We got a pretty good sewing circle in this state.
Brian Christopherson.
To me, it's like crunch time, baby.
Here is Brian Christopherson.
Welcome back. Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Headquarters. We are joined now by Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. BC, what's going on, buddy?
Not a lot. How are you guys doing?
We're doing okay, BC. I have a cookout question for you.
We have important questions to get to right off the bat.
And this is going to dictate whether or not my day ends up on a really, really much better start than where it's going.
No pressure.
All right.
So, are you familiar with the macaroni and corn casserole?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. All right.
If I've had it.
So I don't know if I can ask him then, because does that sound like a food or something that you would enjoy at like a cookout or along with your barbecue activity?
Yeah, it sounds like something I would slide into the very corner of the plate. You just like one spoon scoop, sort of as a kindness to the aunt or uncle or cousin that made it. And it could end up surprising you. It's like one of those teams, like in college football, you think could go 6-6, 7-5, but they've actually got 2 more wins in them. And so then you go back and you watch them some more, or in this case, you eat some more. So that's how I would handle it.
So you're saying that macaroni and corn casserole is the Iowa of cookout foods.
What are you implying?
We have no idea how that they ended up winning 8 or 9 games. This feels like a 6-win team, but they do it every year.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I like that analogy. It would imply that it's a very conservative dish. You didn't take a lot of chances with what you put in it, I guess. So I guess in that respect, you'd be like, okay, I can stomach this and know that it's not going to cost me 6 to 8 hours from now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, macaroni, pretty conservative. Corn, pretty conservative. You're like, hey, let's mash those things together.
Yeah, so I guess we figured it out. It would be like sticking a dab of Iowa on your plate. You're like,
There you go.
Really want
Hey,
it.
listen, Austin, if that's what you're going for, then more power to you.
Yeah.
BC, I do have to ask before we get to anything serious. Do you have a favorite? It's National Hot Dog Day, so we got on the topic of cookouts and food and things like that. So my question to you is, do you have a preferred side dish at a cookout, grill out, barbecue?
I don't have an interesting answer. I mean, I'm just like a potato salad type of guy when you're talking like grill out sausages. I am open to trying about anything. So I will take on like a macaroni dish or whatever's out. And so I'll put like 7 things on the plate in just small order and see what's the best. But I don't have like a real fun, like this is what, my uncle Byron made, for 15 years, and it's just amazing type of dish. So, yeah, it's pretty basic. Like I got it at Hy-Vee potato salad that goes with what I do.
I like it. I like it, BC. Sticking with the classics there. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so we've already got kind of the Iowa going. It's been a while since we've talked to you last, and it was a big 4th of July kind of recruitment going on there with Darian Jones and the recruitment that he obviously committed outside of Nebraska, went and chose the Hawkeyes. What was kind of your vibe from that? We had talked about it on the show. I know DB has more of a little bit of an inside source on there too, and kind of knew that this would go one way or the other, but the split household now. Did you get anything from that, or was it truthfully just, it kind of felt like it was going to be Iowa the entire time?
It didn't feel like Iowa the entire time to me. There was a point like, several months back where I put in a crystal ball for Nebraska just because I thought, well, the brother thing will win out. And, obviously Donovan's had a good start to his career in Lincoln. So I thought that connection might carry it. But about a month or so prior to the 4th, somewhere around there, you began to hear stuff we did in, our network that Iowa really had done a nice job with them, hit it out of the park. And he was probably leaning that way. So by the time we actually got to the holiday, I wasn't surprised he did it. And, I haven't talked to him directly very much. So I'd be speaking out of turn to say all the reasons why he picked Iowa. But, I just think we're living in a time where, guys have a pretty open mind about places they could go. It's not just like, this is my home state, I'm necessarily going there. And sometimes when you have family at a place, it doesn't mean you don't love your family, but you kind of like your own little spot to do your own thing. And I could totally understand that line of thinking. So I think he's a really good player. I think a lot of Donovan and what he can still do as a Husker. And I've heard nothing but like positive things from the North High community about Darian having as much athleticism, to match his brother. So I think the Hawkeyes got a really good one in that case.
Mm-hmm. BC, do you find, I know that as we kind of get down further this road, some Nebraska fans are pretty uncomfortable, and Coach Rules addressed this at certain aspects, but how much credence do you find in the concern that Nebraska fans have over the fact that Nebraska really didn't land any of the top recruits in the state this year?
I really think, after covering the beat for a couple decades, that thing is very, I don't know, it fluctuates quite a bit. Like I've done it enough where there will be a year like this or a cycle where they get like one guy or no guys, and there's sort of this storyline that travels around until the next one. Like, what's going on? Why don't they have those connections? And no matter the staff, there's always been sometimes like a bounce back or a year then when suddenly there's 4 or 5 guys. And so right now, especially with this staff, which I think does pay a lot of attention to the in-state recruiting and I think cares a lot about it, they just don't want to offer just to offer. That's the thing. They don't want to just throw something out if they can't back it up when it comes to like, you can actually sign here. They have, as we've discussed on the show, you know, Ravi, they have more limited numbers in this class. So they were going to have to be a little bit more choosy with who they went after. Then sort of they had I guess you'd say, unique quarterback situation sort of in the next 2 cycles that developed and the way it happened. And so that took them out of the running of maybe a high profile in-state QB, which would have, of course, been a splash headline and maybe changed the narrative a bit. So I think a bunch of things kind of just butted heads in this case and led to why it is the way it is. But I don't view it as a concern point. I really don't. I would if I got the signs that the staff like weren't really scouting the local guys well and had a lot of respect for them. But I just don't think that's the case. I think they have a ton of respect for guys. They just know they can't offer prematurely, and they want to see guys camp in front of them and then make a decision off that.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan. And, you know, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full-ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live.
Jeez.
Presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. all the technical difficulties are Austin's fault. That's all I know.
They are. Yep, 100%. If it's because I got too passionate about macaroni and corn salad. That's the issue.
Honestly, and the world was like, this man cannot be on
He's had enough airtime
platform whatsoever. Who has not had enough airtime is our guy Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7 BC. Thank you for rejoining us. Apologize for the technical difficulties here. I believe you were wrapping up your explanation on kind of the in-state recruiting and how outside of Jace Reynolds, Nebraska sort of just had a weird confluence of events that you believe has led to the lack of in-state commits right now.
Yeah, I mean, just to shorten it up and summarize, I mean, I think they're putting in the work locally about really looking at what type of talent is out there, paying respect to it. It's just a smaller class, and it's a couple different things have made it work out as it has, but I don't see it as a concern point.
Okay, so BC, is there a part in this year's cycle that Nebraska has not went after some of the top name recruits? You know, obviously the Jet Tamalas, they did try to make that pitch for Darian Jones, and they've likely had conversations with some of those that the relationships that they have built in this class, does that maybe detract from future classes? Do you see it that way? Or how does a recruiting cycle go when you don't pick up a lot of the Omaha or the top state talent that then in future classes that doesn't hinder you later on?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's worth pondering, but I also think like there's enough guys from just the recent classes that are like freshmen or redshirt freshmen now. Like, I mean, I just wrote about like Caleb Benning as one example. Like if you get Caleb out there and he's contributing and Donovan's contributing, and, you know, you've got Christian Jones and Pierce Mooberry guys coming up, and, you know, even like Gage Stenger from a few classes ago is going to be, I think, one of the leaders on this team. I'm not sure what exactly his role is, but I think he'll at least be important on special teams. Name a bunch of them. You can name like, you know, 8, 9 of those guys. And if they're producing in some respect this year, I honestly think that will be a bigger factor than a lot of kids like, oh, wait, you guys only signed like one kid from the state last year. I don't know about this. You know, like I think that's going to carry more weight, the guys actually getting it done on the field that are in-state guys that really aren't far removed from their high school days either.
Mm. Speaking of guys that aren't actually that far removed from playing days, Nebraska added a recruiting staffer. I think yesterday was official. I don't know if it was officially announced, but it was announced on his Twitter. Anthony Johnson, who has had a super interesting path to get to Nebraska. I guess, how much do you know about Anthony Johnson and how he got here?
I don't know a lot about him, but yeah, he was with another Big Ten program, and you know, the thing about Rule, when you look at how he puts his staff together, he's always looking for young up and comers or guys that are hungry, and they can come from anywhere and from any background, and he's not shy about giving guys chances. If he feels there's a connection, or if one of his staff members has a connection with somebody. So I never get surprised when some name pops up, you know, that he's joining. And the thing is, I think they give those guys like opportunities, whatever his role is. He'll have a niche where he's expected to produce, and he'll get a chance to do something that matters in his program. I don't think they just have people come in and sit as dead weight. So if you get a position, even if it's not like one of the main full-time assistants ones we always talk about, I think Rule has proven that he gives opportunities for guys to climb up, or it can help their career go elsewhere. So I'm sure there's a lot of young coaches that honestly want to come work for him because they've seen his track record and how he does treat his young coaches.
BC, I was kind of curious, not about Anthony Johnson specifically, I guess, but he just joined Michigan like a couple months ago. For these I guess I believe they're full-time, but non-primary staff positions, like how often, or I guess how common is this type of movement where whether it's kind of sort of in an off cycle of what we would consider the normal hiring time period, or these really quick moves? Like, do you have any frame of reference for how common or uncommon this type of thing is, going from one Big Ten school to another after a relatively short period of time?
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know if I could give a great answer on it. It seems like guys usually spend at least like one full year somewhere. You know, you have that one season and whatever. But so 6 months or whatever it was at Michigan is a shorter time. And I don't know all the details. You know, perhaps it's just a better deal, a slightly better opportunity. I do know, you know, when Pat Stewart came in as the GM, you know, there was talk of like there could be some recruiting hires for some various things coming down the pike. So Nebraska was sort of looking to fill a position or two with their recruiting staff. And so, you know, this makes sense in that respect. So it could have just been a deal in this case where, especially in our climate in college football, we're getting like these GMs who have joined programs in the last 5 or 6 months. They're sort of looking at, okay, what's the staff like? What do I need? How could this guy fill this blank that maybe we're missing? And so that might be why you're seeing some of these hires of guys who have been at a place a shorter time than usual.
So BC, maybe not Anthony Johnson specific, because maybe his role, as you know, we're trying to figure out where it is. It sounds like it could be more on the recruitment side, kind of where he was with Michigan and potentially with Pittsburgh as well before then. Is that something that Nebraska prioritized in terms of maybe alleviating some time from the coaching staff having to go out and do this sort of recruitment? I think is there a misperception that it's strictly the position coaches and the coordinators and Coach Rule that go out and do all the recruitment? Or is this maybe one of those guys that can start that recruitment process? Is that a part of, I guess, the recruitment process when it comes to Nebraska, is that it's not always the coach that has to go out, and maybe this is a new spot and a new name that recruits can kind of get in touch with before they get in touch with an EJ Barthel or whoever it would be?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of recruits that will interview, and like early on in the process, that they're talking to someone who's not necessarily a full-time coach. Or, you know, there's several names that pop up. I mean, one that everyone knows is like Keith Williams. He's obviously got an important job, like within Nebraska's recruiting structure, has been important to Rule's staff. So like his name would pop up, but there's others where it's someone who is not like an everyday staff name that we talk about on the radio usually, but he's reaching out on behalf of Nebraska, or he's the staff member that the kid kind of relates to first off as the ball sort of gets rolling. So that's not uncommon at all. And I'm not saying this is how it's going to go with Anthony Johnson by any means, but we are now in a different time where you can send like whatever staffers you want on the road, you know, and so there is opportunity for guys who are really good recruiters or getting going in recruiting, and they have those connections to take some of the labor off coaches where they weren't always on the road. Now, of course, you're going to want a lot of your position coaches to eventually be out there, have face-to-face time. You're going to want like Terry Braden in front of guys because he's just so energetic and he's the D-line coach. But there is something to be said for early on in the early stages, other people helping. Well, obviously these position coaches are busy trying to get ready for a season and all this.
Starting with Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. BC, as we're kind of getting ready for Big Ten Media Days, and we got the announcement yesterday that Fan Day and the Big Red Preview is going to be August 2nd. Where are some of the landmarks you're at as you're kind of, I mean, I feel like a lot of us are starting to get into our prep mode for football season. Where are you at in sort of your preparation, and how do you start to get ready now that we're, I don't know, 6 weeks out from the start date?
Yeah, you start to, I think we're to the point where, you know, we've kind of spun around in a circle on certain topics. And now it's like, I'm like this week, I'm kind of forming like, okay, what are the 8 to 10 questions when you go to Las Vegas next Tuesday and Nebraska's at the mic, you know, that push the ball forward? Like what is actually news or something new to the equation? And sometimes you're not going to get a new answer to those questions you ask. But I do think there's a lot of curiosity still. For like one instance is the O-line to me has been something we have talked about all off season, and we're like, that could be a strength for good reason. We see that there's a lot of potential depth there, and yet there's a lot of curiosity about certain guys, like where you specifically put Latovsky, for instance, how some of the vets like Corcoran and Prohaska come back. Like I feel like sometimes we actually talk over guys like they're not going to be around in the fall, because they were out rehabbing, or a Gunnar Gatula type guy. And I'm curious, like, what kind of impact can they make? Can one of those guys bump their way to the front of the line again? So you think about stuff like that, topics that maybe people have kind of put in the back burner in the spring, and now it's like, no, let's get to the bottom of this. Who's really like in the mix there at right tackle? And like you get your Demetrius Bell type stories, like where's he at? Could he pop in and be part of the equation at wide receiver? So there's Carter Nelson update. Like, is he ready to roll like we think he can be? All that stuff. Maybe it's kind of injury related, but those nuts and bolts items, I think, honestly, are the stuff that interests people the most. And then there's always like a name or two that pops up at either media days or the first week that's like you didn't necessarily consider that person was in the running for the 2 deep, but here he is, and you better pay attention. And so that's the sort of stuff you start to look out for, I think.
BC, other than probably the general what's going on in college football conversations that Rule tries to put himself into just when he's out doing other media tours, when it comes to Big Ten Media Days next week, do you think that there's a specific message about this year's team that he will try to convey just generally over to the conference media? Because we know what we are getting from the national conversation, kind of from him, what he's put into expectations even from last summer to this year. What is there something that maybe we're missing in the fold that we could expect to hear from him next week that might be the theme or maybe his message for the season?
I'm not sure. I don't want to put words in his mouth before he speaks them himself. I wonder, though, there's always this attempt, because it's been true, that Nebraska's sort of struggled in close games and stuff like that. And I wonder how much, like in a week like next week, we'll see if this happens. It might not. But you sort of move it forward like, this is a new squad. I like the mentality of the squad. We've been working at all these the 2-minute drill, red zone, all these various things to help us in those kind of games. We're not going to be a program that is a product or lives in the past of what happened last year or the year before follows this team. It's a new crew, and these are the reasons why I like this specific crew. I do think sometimes one of the things you have to fight at Nebraska, and I'm part of it, with how we cover it, and it's been true. Like, Nebraska sort of struggled in these close games getting over the hump, so there's always that when's it going to happen, how's it going to happen narrative that's out there. I could see, though, where within the program you kind of push that to the back burner, and you'd be like, you got all these new guys like Dane Keene, Isaiah Hunter, Deshaun McCullough on defense, Marquise Watson, Trent. That history isn't their history. And so I think sometimes at media days, a coach or players can kind of establish that mindset. Like, this is a new group. Let's go get it. This is why I like this team that I'm with right now. So I don't know if that'll be what comes out of next week, but that's a wild guess by me. But that's sort of how I would look at it if I were inside those walls. I'd kind of want to distance myself from all the circular narrative that sometimes goes on around here.
That's our guy, Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. BC, appreciate the time. As always, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brian.
That's Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. Coming up next, we've got Andy Kendeigh from KETV here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
Cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that. Give me that.
Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan. And, you know, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full-ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centrus Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals. With a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centrus Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrus Federal Credit Union. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Headquarters, reminding you head down to Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill for all their summer specials, whether it's the Chicago dog, whether it's the Philly steak pizza, whatever it is. Make sure you get down there and get your savings and great deals at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, either La Vista or Gretna. We are joined now by the one and only Andy Kendeigh from KETV. AK, what's going on, buddy?
Morning, boys. How you guys doing?
Good, Andy. Good. I've been seeing a lot of you guys' stuff. Obviously, it's that time of the summer where things are a little bit slower here on this side of the state, but you guys have been busy going across the river because I see Matt's like going out to a lot of different baseball and different contests going on in Iowa. So you guys are getting your travel game on here in July.
Well, yeah, and the thing is that, you know, we try to do as much Iowa as possible. Sometimes it's not possible, but, you know, this time of year, with softball and baseball in the state of Iowa, they do their high school season in the summer, which is unique. And so, you know, we kind of like to shine a light on them when we can. And their state tournament begins next week. So this has been a very important week for baseball regionals and sub-state finals and all that stuff. So, you know, and I do think that, you know, when you go to a place like an Underwood or something and you get to see some of the talent there, it's eye-opening, and you're like, holy cow, these guys are, you know, they're fantastic, and they deserve everything that they get. And you know, honestly, especially in football season, we try to do as much as possible because, you know, it's closer than you think, and they deserve the coverage as well. And so good for the kids over at Iowa finishing up their sports, which is, you know, when I played ball back in my day, boys, I can't even imagine playing a summer baseball season for your high school after you graduated as a senior. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
This is a unique deal. So good on these guys to keep their teams together and play at the highest level. So good on them.
So that was going to be my question, Andy, because and forgive my ignorance here on how it works exactly, but I mean, some of those guys are going to be moving on to play either in college for baseball or college for other sports, or like you said, they've just graduated and are no longer in high school. How does that work? I mean, do teams kind of lose guys sometimes because of the logistics of, hey, I have to move on to this next phase of my life, and do they allow like incoming freshmen to play that summer? Like, how does that work?
What I understand, from what I understand, if you're good enough, you can play as an incoming freshman. Absolutely. So, from what I understand, now I could be wrong too. I could be as ignorant as everybody. So I understand. I do think, though, I think that's something that they have to wrestle with. Like, if you're a graduating senior, like, okay, what am I doing? Am I going to play one more season? But that's what they know. That is their senior season. So I bet they don't lose as many as you would think. You could still play Legion ball as a graduating senior. I did when I was a kid. So, and that was a blast. Talk about no pressure. You're out of high school, ready to go to college. You had nothing to lose. I had a great summer that summer. So, I think it's one last hurrah for your school. It's just it is kind of weird because it's like with no classes and having your diploma still representing your school is kind of a unique deal.
AK, I want to ask you just about the Nebraska Hall of Famers were announced, and we got Ndamukong Suh retiring kind of in the same time period last week. And we talked to Kenny Bell yesterday just about Husker legacies, favorite moments, all that. But I'm curious because I'm starting to see a little bit more discourse online about Ndamukong Suh and where he stands in NFL lore and history. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer, and or do you see him as a Hall of Famer?
I think he gets in. I'm not sure. I don't think he gets in on the first ballot. And what I look, the Hall of Fame for the pro football, the people, they're in a room and you have this whole long discussion and battle. His you go back to how many, he was what? He was all pro 3 times. He was 5-time Pro Bowler. He won a Super Bowl, played in 3. His numbers are good, not great, but when you think about it, how dominant was he? I always look at that. Like Gale Sayers had such a small. He was like a comet, right? When he was in the NFL, he was so good for such a short period of time, but so dominant for that period of time, they couldn't keep him out, right? I mean, that was why Gale Sayers made it to the Hall of Fame. And Ndamukong Suh, while fantastic in his first, 5, 6, 7 years, his last 3 or 4 years, he was good, but I wouldn't call him dominant. So I think he does get in eventually because when you stack his numbers up for against other people who have made the Hall of Fame, I think it's favorable in his direction. But I don't know if he makes the first round ballot. And, the other thing is, as much as you hate to admit it, some of the guys who are voting on it, obviously, if he, he was, I wouldn't say, let's say his relationship with the media will come into play here. And that, as unfair as that may be in terms of when you look at the broad sense of it, I do think that plays a role here. And, I think some of the media will take maybe a lazier turn in terms of like they'll point to all the fines that he had and quote unquote dirty player or whatever. But I look at Suh as kind of a throwback to where that's the way they used to play. If you look at some of the old clips of the NFL, that's basically how the game was played. And now it's changed a little bit. So. I do think it's a complicated question to answer. I do think he gets in eventually because he's one of the great players that has played the game. But I just don't think he gets in right away. But he will get in my opinion.
All right, Andy, I got to ask you a very important question here. I believe when we talked to Lauren a couple weeks ago, she said that you guys are spending a whole week out in Vegas. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. By the way, fantastic job by Lauren. I kind of feel like Wally Pipp here. I was you guys were going to just leave me on the bench and keep Lauren in my slot. So good for Lauren. But yes, it is true. So here's the deal.
I'll say, what's the game plan? Because that's an aggressive amount of time in Las Vegas.
It's the KETV residency. That's what they're doing out there.
Are you opening for Bruno Mars? What's going on?
So we're going out on Monday. Nebraska talks on Tuesday, and then, the 6 other teams go on Wednesday. We'll be there for that. And then Iowa goes on Thursday, the 24th. And so we want to be there for Iowa. It goes back to our Iowa discussion. A lot of times, I think the biggest complaint we get at KETV in sports is that we don't cover enough Iowa. And that may be Iowa or Iowa State or Iowa High School. That's the biggest complaint we get. That's the email that we get the most.
Mm.
And so we're going to try, one of my great achievements was convincing our people to let us stay to go to Iowa, the Iowa Day on Thursday. And I'm like, well, since we're out there, I called a buddy of mine. Come on Thursday night. I'll be done Thursday night. We can stay the weekend. So, the biggest challenge, I have never been out for a work trip in Vegas. I've been there, 10, 15 times, never for a work trip. So it's going to be a challenge of self-discipline like no other.
We call that a balancing act.
Yeah. So how do you balance your work and, I don't even want to say life balance, but maybe the fun
recreation?
Yeah, the activities that Vegas can provide. How do you balance that? Do you have to put in like a timesheet to KETV? Do you have to submit that to the station every day, or do you have like an assistant that's going to follow you around and track your hours and how long you were in X location comparative to over here?
Well, I hope they don't track the location for one. That's a great question. And it's funny because the last time we were in Vegas, I went out in January because I wanted to go out for the championship game for the AFC NFC championship game. So we were out there, and it was at the tail end of my college buddy's work trip. So we're flipping roles here. So I'm working this time. He's coming out for the tail end of my work trip. So I don't know how this is going to all work. All I know is that we are on a late flight back to Omaha on Sunday. And I have never stayed this long in Las Vegas. So usually it's like a real, it's 48, 72 hours. That's usually the pocket of time that you go to. But for 6 nights, that's going to be a challenge. But I had to be back for it. I didn't know if we have access Monday for Husker football. So I said, yeah, you can play, you can run, what do they call it? Run with the dogs, but get up with the birds, or whatever.
Well, Andy, our thoughts and prayers are with you for 6 nights in Vegas. I don't know.
The Andy Kendeigh experience.
I was going to say, I can't wait to talk to you the week after you get back, because I am fascinated to see how you're holding up. I
might personally pay for a GoPro just to kind of watch to see where you go. I think that'd be a great time. I'd love to see AK on the move.
Well, they always give you stuff in terms of media, here's a media gift or whatever. Last year they gave us a pack of beef jerky for some reason. I think this is Tylenol.
Yeah,
it's liquid IV is what they're going to give you for
liquid IV. Liquid IV. Absolutely.
Andy, we appreciate the time. Good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck out there. We wish you the best, and I'm fascinated to see how it goes.
Thanks, boys. I will give you a full report when I return.
Can't wait, Andy. Thanks.
That's Andy Kendeigh from KETV. Honestly, it's a wild move. It's a wild move.
Yeah. But nonetheless, Big Ten Media Days does require that level of expertise. You got to send as many people out there. I want the whole KETV staff out there. I want all of Andy's best friends to go to Vegas with him.
It's a level of commitment that I appreciate. What's wild about his schedule, if I understood it right, is the weekend isn't coming until the back end of the 6 days. He's going to be in Vegas for 4 days before he hits a weekend. And I just don't know. And listen, I'm not calling Andy old or anything, but even if he was the exact same age as me, I think he's a couple years older. I'm not sure that's survivable.
No, I wouldn't survive there.
I mean,
I would not be able to financially. I would never recover. It'd be like the Bernie meme. I'd be asking for money.
I had 3 days in Omaha with my high school friends, and I'm still trying to bounce back. I can't imagine 6 in Vegas. That's wild.
Yeah, that would be a little tough. That'd be a little tough.
That feels aggressive. You might almost have to lock yourself in the hotel room and try and really buckle down. That.
Well, yeah, and I mean, talking to Lauren the last time too. Lauren was talking about she's bringing her friends down, and I don't know. Think they might be a little more play than work out there. We'll see.
I mean, listen, I'm sure they'll get plenty of work done, but my goodness.
I would actually, do you think that we could somehow spin the inverse where like Rule could then ask the media the questions? Like everyone goes out the night after like the Nebraska media session, and then he just comes, he's like, hey, 9 a.m. You guys, I'm asking you guys questions about your job.
I think he should. And the players get to ask.
Yeah.
Too.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I'd have a lot of fun with that.
They get to ask the media contingent that. I think that would be a good time. Let's take a quick break here. We're going to talk to Mitch Sherman from The Athletic coming up here at 9, and then DB at 9:30, as long as his schedule allows with football camp this week. So let's take a quick break. We will be back. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
At Centrus Federal Credit Union, we understand that the journey of building your own business typically starts with modest beginnings. With a little help from our team of experts and small business loan offerings, you can take your vision and transform it into a more concrete reality. Centrus Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Johnson went back, comes in, she makes the catch, and it's a chance for a game-winning double play. That's how it ends. The Arkansas Razorbacks are headed back to Super Regionals.
What kind of goes through your mind as you're preparing to give that final speech?
It's the worst speech of all time because you don't want to rehearse it, because then it sounds like you knew it was coming.
It was 12-0. Like we were kind of anticipating, okay, like this is gonna end tonight. Like nobody wants it to, but it's going to.
10, 20 years down the road, the wins and losses, you don't remember them. All the success is great and it is very memorable, and those are part of the good memories. But I think the time we have together on the bus, in the locker room, at practice, on the field, are what lasts a lifetime.
You just go out there and you look those kids in their eyes and try to articulate to them how much they mean to you and this program. And then when you finish and you stand there and watch everybody, and it's hard. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Here with Nebraska volleyball, Skylar Pierce. Skylar, you're just telling me this is your second year helping at Harrison's camps. You told me there's a lot of kids here that even recognize you. How special is that for you?
It's so special just because you never really understand the impact that you're making on people, but when you come to these events or like even other sporting events, you just can see their face light up, and it's just such a wholesome feeling.
Yeah. Why is it so important for you and this Nebraska volleyball team to give back to the community?
Nebraska does so much for our team, the fan base, everything. Like they love our team so much, so the fact that we get to come back and like hang out with these kids that just love the sport so much and love hanging out with us. It's a really cool experience.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports Bar. Nope, we're not at Hurrdat Sports Bar.
Whoa.
We're at Hurrdat Headquarters.
Come on.
That's the first slip
At least
up
you didn't
today.
call me DB.
I didn't. I've done a really good job all
You
week.
have, yeah.
I've been so proud of myself.
Well, and after that macaroni and corn casserole take, that's probably going to be easy for you not to mess up anymore. So we should be fine.
I mean,
fine.
it's burned into my memory how terrible of a take that is.
That really hurts.
You know what's not terrible, though?
What's not?
Is the credit union difference. It can make a huge difference to bank at a credit union. You may ask, what makes the difference? Well, there's a lot. They're a not-for-profit financial institution that put their members' financial wellness first. They operate under the philosophy of people helping people and give back to their members with competitive rates, great service, and community investments. And Centris is leading the way in the credit union experience. Go check them out, centrisfcu.org, to see all they have to offer, federally insured by NCUA. Even if you do end up at Centris, though, Austin, your take would still be awful.
Okay,
I mean, it's just a terrible free take.
Now you're just being mean to be mean. There's no reason for that.
No, you're
just being nasty.
I can't get over. It's almost as bad of a take as the Cincinnati Bengals with Shamar Stewart in their first round pick.
That's nuts. The fact that has continued on as long as it has is absolutely crazy to me.
And if you're not paying attention, DB and I talked about this months ago when it first started happening after the draft. But if you haven't been paying attention, Cincinnati is trying to put a default clause in Shamar Stewart's contract for the first time they've ever tried this in anyone's contract. Like, this is not a thing they've done before. Other franchises have. They have not. Shamar Stewart's argument, he's holding out to not be made an example of, basically. That's the whole thing. He's not asking for more money. He's not asking for anything else. Just, hey, give me the contract that you've given literally every other draft pick up until this point. Seems pretty reasonable, right? Here's where this story has gotten interesting lately. Is it's been reported that Shamar Stewart has gone back to practice with Texas A&M, where he went to school. This is
like more than just like a, hey, I'm keeping in shape. I'm working out and doing stuff.
There is a source from 24/7. 24/7's Bud Elliott is reporting that a source has told him that Shamar Stewart might apply for a waiver to return to Texas A&M since he never signed a professional contract. We've seen this a couple times before in the NBA where a guy goes undrafted. Never drafted, but undrafted, and technically would be ineligible because he declared for the draft and stayed in, and they allowed him to come back after like a suspension and a waiver and that type of thing. This is going to be really interesting. To my knowledge, this hasn't happened before, but apparently there are people around Texas A&M that believe that he's eligible for a waiver.
What happened in the Maurice Claret back in the day? Because he
wasn't trying to come back to school.
Right.
He was trying.
Was he drafted and then because he ended up on the Broncos, right?
Yes.
Somehow, some way.
So he was, I believe, not actually drafted. He sued to be eligible for the NFL draft early.
That's right. Yeah.
Because he wanted to come out after his freshman year at Ohio State where they won the national title and he was very good. That lawsuit I don't think got resolved in time. He may have gone into the supplemental draft.
That sounds right.
If I remember correctly, which I don't even think exists anymore. But I believe he went in the supplemental draft, ended up with the Broncos. Obviously, his career didn't work out. Actually ended up with the Omaha Nighthawks briefly.
Right.
But he actually, so that was a different situation because he was trying to get out of college early rather than trying to go back to college.
That's like the only thing I can think of that is like relatively when you were going through, what else can Maurice Claret do? Is if he can get back to college, he should try. But he had already kind of passed those hurdles at the time to be able to get back into college football. But now with college football being in the different landscape that it is, how possible is it that Shamar Stewart, does he even have to go back to A&M though? I mean, why not open yourself up for more opportunity if possible?
I mean, theoretically, he could go anywhere if he gets the waiver, but I don't know. Like this is truly unprecedented. Like this guy wasn't a fringe pick. And listen, I didn't love the pick because he hasn't been super productive despite his freaky attributes, but this was a first round pick. Almost everybody had him as a first round pick. The Bengals drafted him. And they are trying to put a clause into there that they've never had in any other of their contracts before. And this is just not a thing that's ever happened to my knowledge of a guy, a first-round pick, a very high draft pick, trying to go back to college because of a contract dispute. We've seen it in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball allows for there's a date where you can sign a contract by or return to school. We've seen guys use that and return to school because they don't like the contract that they're offered. To my knowledge, this has not happened in football, at least not in recent history. And in basketball, it's only happened when guys go undrafted after staying in the draft. So I'm fascinated by this whole scenario and how it's going to play out. It is the most like Cincinnati Bengals poverty franchise thing ever.
I mean, I don't know if the Bengals get the credit that they deserve for being as bad and poorly run as they are, because it seems like a lot of things get swept under the rug with them. Like even drafting Shamar Stewart was so that way they didn't have to pay Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
And they still don't want to pay Trey Hendrickson, but now they don't have an option because they may not have their first round pick available anymore. So you can't be out 2 pass rushers when you thought you were going to have at least one of them.
Honestly, they don't get enough credit anymore because Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor have covered couple guys with Nebraska ties. Don't know if you know that.
Joe Burrow.
There's a wild story about Nebraska.
Well, you have to be seated for this one.
Allegedly, he wanted to come. No, anyway,
we're not talking about him. We're not bringing him up again.
Who, Adrian Martinez?
No. Another guy. Another quarterback.
Anyway, outside of Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor, like bandaging over everything with this, like this is an incredibly poorly run franchise.
Yeah.
Has pretty much always been an incredibly poorly run franchise. I was gonna take a shot and be like, this seems like something like the Panthers would do, but that's I didn't want to get too personal with you.
That was really mean. No, you literally called out my favorite NFL team. That's fine. This has just been an attack on Austin show. That's all that it is. It's fine.
I mean, I feel like you had it coming with the corn and macaroni thing. That's kind of on you.
Okay, Cincinnati's a macaroni and corn casserole franchise. How about that?
And
like that? And that's not a bad take.
And then Carolina is a raisins in your potato salad kind of franchise.
I don't understand the raisins in the potato salad. I can get it. I can get down with them in like coleslaw and stuff. I can figure that out.
No,
really?
No, gross.
I like coleslaw. You get the little like apple, like you get some cut up apple and stuff in there. What coleslaw are you getting?
Not weird fruit coleslaw.
What's wrong with fruit in my coleslaw? I'm trying to stay healthy.
God.
What's wrong with
sorry,
that?
Did you say apple in your coleslaw?
You don't put, you don't do any of that? You don't like a little extra tang and crunch in coleslaw?
Nope.
It's already crunchy, dude.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me?
Where do we start? Bestie?
I didn't like that from Sasha. That is my boss. That is my boss. That was tough.
So if the Bengals are the mac and cheese and corn franchise of the NFL, then apparently the Panthers are the raisins and apples in your coleslaw franchise of the NFL.
How bad would the Bengals get if they didn't have Burrow? Like, we're talking perennially, they would be drafting quarterback after quarterback, right?
He had one of the better quarterbacking seasons in league history last year, and they won 9 games and missed the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you extrapolate that backwards,
right,
they're the Panthers.
Yeah, I think, and Joe Burrow. I mean, he gets the credit he usually deserves, right? But it's almost one of those that we might get to a point like, is he Phillip Rivers-esque where he's always on the cusp? He's always the next guy to be competing because I mean, he's kind of in that.
The Chargers were better run than the Chargers were better run than the Bengals.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Not the entire time, but they had stretches where they were better run than the Bengals are. The Bengals are a poverty franchise.
I don't disagree. The franchise as a whole,
yes,
they had
stretches.
More poorly run is Cincinnati.
Yeah,
for sure.
They had stretches under Rivers where the Chargers had rough stretches. I totally understand that, but that is not in general a terribly run franchise. The Bengals are.
Yes,
so. And I think Burrow's better than Rivers.
They make him practice outside in the winter.
Well, they gotta get ready for it. And don't wear hoodies because that makes you soft.
That is true.
We're
not bringing them up.
I didn't bring anything up. I was talking about hoodies.
How dare you?
I was talking about hoodies. We're gonna talk to Mitch Sherman coming up next from The Athletic. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that. Give
Corey Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan, and you know, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full-ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centrus Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals. With a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centrus Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
We're back. Welcome back. Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrus Federal Credit Union. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Headquarters. Everything is fine.
Everything's fine. It's not even our fault.
I still think it's your
okay.
fault.
All right.
We're going to bring in our guy, Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, joining us now. We appreciate Mitch joining us. Let's see. There we go. Mitch, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We are surviving and thriving somehow, some way.
Mitch, to hear.
Let me ask you. I want to start with baseball here. I know you're a big baseball guy. What did you think about sort of the format of the All-Star game yesterday with the home run swing off to break the tie?
Well, I think I was like the Fox TV crew in that I had no idea in the bottom of the 9th inning that they were going to go to a swing off. They definitely didn't know. I mean, you could tell, right? Like, they just kind of brought it up. By the way, there's not going to be extra innings to this game. And then it's like, what? There's not? What are you going to do? And then you could tell they were getting the information as they were announcing it to the national TV audience. I wanted to go to bed, and I didn't really want to sit through extra innings, but I also didn't want to miss the end of the game.
Yep.
So I'm glad they had that format. And I wish it would have been a little faster. Like, I was getting annoyed at the guys taking all the pitches.
Yes. Yeah. That was. See, I told Ravi earlier that was when I just started to kind of zone out a little bit because the time was catching up to me as well. The evening hours were a little bit long, but I did witness it, but I don't think I registered exactly what was going on. So I'm glad I was in the same boat as someone else, that everyone was just surprised as to what was happening in the All-Star game at the end.
I did find myself, Mitch, while I'm watching that game last night, and Edwin Diaz is challenging a third strike to get a batter called out. I did remember thinking to myself, like, are they going to play extras? Like, what are they going to do here as it's in the tie? I like the concept of the swing off, though. I agree. The taking the pitches and stuff was kind of ridiculous, but I kind of enjoyed the concept. Like, I thought it was sort of fun.
It was fine. it's better than like watching a 12-inning game that at some point is going to have to end, even if it's still tied, because they're going to run out of pitchers. Like nobody's going out there and throwing 3 or 4 innings. You just can't do that to some other team, some team's manager. I remember after the All-Star game tied several years ago. I mean, for all I know, it might have been like 20 years ago, and or it could have been 3. It wasn't 3, but I remember that they went to
the thousands, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, didn't they go to a format where they basically had a pitcher on the roster for each team who was not scheduled to throw in the 9 innings, and then if it went to a 10th, they had somebody ready to go, so there would never again be a tie. And somewhere along the way, since that was instituted, they said, nah, we're not going to do that. Like, we're not even going to play extra innings, but we have to have a way to decide the game. So the surprise element was fun. And I also wish that they would have picked the best home run hitters.
So that bummed me out.
Like, I didn't even know who the guy was that was hitting third for the American League.
Yeah. And they're like, he's got 11 home runs on the season. I was like, that's not enough. I need more than that.
Right. And then he like crushed one to the warning track. Like, no, because if Aaron Judge, who was, for all I know, was like back at his hotel at that point, like if he came out of the game,
which may have been the problem. He was already
Bobby Witt Jr. was in the game. Bobby Witt Jr. was in the game and was a factor in the 9th inning. And he, although he didn't win the home run derby last year, put on a show at the home run derby. Like, I wanted to see Bobby Witt Jr. up there batting third for the American League.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I do think there's some tweaking they could do to make it a little bit better, but I do kind of like it. I was a fan.
There's also something so backyardish calling it a swing off. I mean, that's fantastic. Like they didn't have any other name like calculated for it. That was so Major League Baseball. Just be like, a swing off. Yeah, we'll do that. Sounds good.
You know that everyone on the field was learning even if there were some people down there who knew that it was going to go to a swing off after 9 innings, I would think the managers did. You know that they were all learning the rules of how it worked in real time.
I just love that they had to take the commercial break to be like, all right, we're going to figure this out and explain to the managers what they have to do now. No, that was a lot of fun. So I want to get to change gears here, get to some college football stuff. How much, how tuned in are you to some of these other schools' media days, like the Big 12 last week and the SEC this week?
Well, I went into the first day of Big 12 media days more interested than usual, I would say. And it was primarily because I wanted to hear Scott Satterfield, the Cincinnati coach. And Scott Frost was definitely on the radar, and so was Joey McGuire, the Texas Tech. They all went on the first day, which was great, and Dion. Oh, Dion was day 2, but all of those coaches from the Big 12, I had some level of interest in, and even like Chris Kleiman and Matt Campbell, because of the geographical proximity to Nebraska and the fact that those coaches recruit a lot in Nebraska, specifically Campbell in this recruiting cycle. So I was interested in a lot of that. Didn't expect Scott Frost to give us 4 days and counting of news or things to react to. With SEC media days, I was captivated by Lane Kiffin on Monday. Thought he was great, and just like the rare case where a coach just really peels back the layers and lets you see who he is. Like, I just love that about Lane Kiffin. And yesterday was not quite as interesting, even though you had the big names out there, the big brands. In some ways, like, that probably took away from it, because you were getting nothing from what I saw from Georgia and Texas. I mean, Steve Sarkisian didn't even react to the fact that they played the Texas A&M fight song. The Aggie wore him as he walked to the stage. Like,
oh, great.
Why are you, how is this not getting, at least like make a joke about it, Sark? Like, but no. And maybe he did, and I didn't see that part since I wasn't there, but it looked to me like it just went on like it wasn't happening. So yesterday was a little bit of a downer. I would have hoped that there were some more fireworks from the likes of Georgia, Tennessee, and Auburn, and I mean, Hugh Freeze can be interesting, but I didn't see anything and I was busy with other stuff yesterday. but I went back to check the highlights, and
Mhm.
it seemed pretty boring. And Arch Manning too. Like, come on, like give us something.
Yeah, that he's much more Peyton, or he's much less Peyton and Eli than you would hope, and at least in terms of his personality at this point.
Well, and he'll get older, and
Yeah.
if he goes on to be anything close to the NFL quarterback that those two were, then his personality will come out, I'm sure.
So, Mitch, the one thing that I really took away from the first couple days, and Austin and I talked about this a little bit earlier, was just it seems like there's this constant positioning and sort of politicking from the SEC to prove why their version of the college football playoff expansion makes the most sense, and to position themselves to get the most teams possible. And from an SEC standpoint, I get it. From a college football standpoint, it really concerns me, because all of a sudden you've got Shane Beemer talking about 7 and 8 SEC teams in a 16-team playoff. And I went back and did the research. There's literally never been a time since 1992, when they instituted their conference title game, that's even close to being a realistic possibility or a viable possibility. But I feel like they're just pushing this narrative where the public can get comfortable with it, so that it'll eventually happen and nobody will bat an eye. I don't know. The whole thing concerns me a ton, and I don't really know what to do about it. And I'm not sure if there's a question in there. I guess I'm just kind of curious how you process when you hear these things from the SEC about what their end game is and what it means for college football.
Well, it's expected at this point, and the SEC does a better job of sticking out its chest and playing, talking a big game than the Big Ten does. We'll hear some of that next week in Las Vegas at Big Ten Media Days. I'm sure there will be coaches, and Matt Rule might be at the top of the list, that promote the conference brand and sound somewhat like Shane Beemer. If you're the coach at South Carolina and you saw your team have a great second half of the season last year, just a great season in general, and you got left out in the way that South Carolina did, knowing that if the playoff were to have to expanded at that point to 16 games or 16 teams or even 14 that you were probably in, then you're going to come into the next season and be there in July at your conference media days and say everything that we heard from Beemer. While Rule wasn't in that spot, while Nebraska wasn't on the outside looking in, like, his hope is that Nebraska gets to that place or gets over, beyond that place. But, maybe it's more realistic in the minds of Matt Rule and coaches in his spot that, hey, Nebraska's a year behind what South Carolina did. And if they can get to that place where you're in the conversation, then you want to use every advantage you got. And you want to, you want the Big Ten, you want the SEC, if you're an SEC coach, to be front of mind, to be viewed as the top conference. It maybe impacts the committee in some way, probably not, but coaches aren't going to stop promoting their schools and promoting their schools' leagues. It's just that it's like the Big Ten is a little more conservative most across the board, I think, from the commissioner on down, in the way that they go about doing that, and that'll be reflected next week.
Mitch, you mentioned kind of appreciating some of the things you heard from Kiffin earlier in the week. In this, and then it also tied into something you said there about people advocating for their leagues and things like that. He brought up this idea that the ADs of schools being on the selection committee is kind of crazy, because even if they're out of the room for their own team, there's obviously a vested interest in the conference doing well, as that's why we're seeing all the positioning by the SEC currently. A, do you agree that having those people in the room is a little bit nuts? And B, who would you have make those decisions instead?
Yeah, I agree. Right as Troy Dannon goes on the committee, I'll say I agree with that. That it's
so we can change it when he's done, right?
Yeah, right. It's a wild concept to think that there are athletic directors in there making decisions and like chairing the committee at times when their schools are in the discussion. Like, I've always thought that when they talk about, I've rolled my eyes for years at this whole concept that, well, if they're going to talk about Iowa, then Gary Barta is going to leave the room. It's like, well, even when they're not talking about Iowa, they're still talking about Iowa, because the conversation about all their teams impacts how Iowa is going to be treated. Like, if he leaves the room and everybody says what they really think about Iowa, good or bad, and then he comes back in and they're talking about the team that whose playoff fate directly impacts, like one of these two teams is getting in.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have to leave the room for the conversation about, LSU.
Yeah.
So it's totally misguided. This idea that fixes the problem, to just have the AD walk out of the room for 5 minutes while they talk about his team. Like, no, they're his or her team. Like they're still talking about him when they come back in, just in an indirect way. Yeah. I think that ADs probably shouldn't be doing this. So then what do you get? I don't know. It's a great question. They've had retired coaches before. They've had media people before, which I find strange. Do you go with everybody's got an affiliation to some school. Like if you're a former coach at a school, then do you have to leave the room? It's hard to find objective people in college football. Do you have to go outside of college football? I don't know. You have to have some NFL execs make the decision. Like they're busy with their own stuff. I honestly don't know, which is why there's a part of me, and I see flaws for sure in the Big Ten's concept, in the Big Ten's out there on an island with its 4 autos for the Big Ten and the SEC and 2 for the other power leagues. You know what it is. Like they're out there on an island to support that. But I'm sure as long as Tony Patini stays on board with it next week, what you're going to hear is one big advantage is you take some of the decisions, you minimize the decisions that the committee has to sit in a room and make. Like they basically become a seeding organization and maybe have 1 or 2 teams that they've got to decide on. I like that because the committee is flawed just in the concept of it.
Yeah.
Can I make the argument that if you're going to have, I agree, by the way, on the auto qualifiers. In a perfect world, I don't love that system. I think it's more fair to have a 5-11 model, but I do not trust any of the decision makers. So the auto qualifiers to me makes the most sense. Can I make the argument that we bring back the BCS computers? Because did they ever actually get it wrong? I know we hated it. Right?
Well,
but did they ever actually get it wrong?
I think
That's the question.
More people, I think, had an issue with the matchups, like the 2 teams that were then pitted against each other, rather than the opportunity of who the actual champion was, right? Because when presented the game itself, it did more often than not feel like the national champion was deserving and rewarded in that way.
The BCS computers put Nebraska in the championship against Miami in 2001. Right. That was computer era. Yep. That was the wrong choice.
Okay. I will say there wasn't an obvious better choice that year because that was the Oregon Colorado that year.
Right.
Colorado had the 2 losses. Oregon was probably the other option there. But that was, I will say, that's probably the best example, but also not an obvious third candidate.
Right. You remove the human element from it. And if you have a committee there, the committee's going, there's no way we can put this team in after they lost by 28 points against their rival to end the season and then sat out championship weekend.
Yeah.
Yep. And especially in that world of college football too. So
where you don't get where you only are dealing with 2 teams.
Mitch, I know you touched on it a little bit ago, and it's one of those things that maybe it's not even needed to be said coming from the Big Ten when it gets to its media days. But is there anything that, with how we've seen almost every single SEC coach so far, and especially the ones in really last year's contender field, like you mentioned with Shane Beemer, talk about, this is the playoff model I think works best. This is how many teams I think the SEC should deserve. This is what we think is good. Is there any conversation you could foresee that comes from the Big Ten leadership trickling down to its coaches to say, hey, it wouldn't hurt for us to be more vocal during our own media days and try to push our narrative as much as we need to?
They could do that, but I think people would see through it because I don't think it would sound genuine if the thing that the SEC has is when you can tell when people mean something that they say. And if Lane Kiffin's up on the podium or Kirby Smart's up at the podium and it seems like they're advocating for Vanderbilt. Like, okay, that's on brand.
Yeah.
But if Ryan Day is up there and like he's advocating for Purdue or Washington, like it's just you're gonna know. You're gonna know like Ohio State is out for Ohio State, and that's it. Like they might as well be in a one-team league. Like they get a lot of benefits from being in the Big Ten, but it's just not the same kind of public rallying around each other that you have in the SEC. And I think that's just the culture of the two leagues. So if Petitti and others, Kerry Kenny and the leaders in the Big Ten gathered the coaches up next Monday and said, we need to really push the Big Ten talking points and directives, like they might do it, but I don't think it would have the same impact that it does in the SEC.
So I do wonder, Mitch, because I think you're right. I do think the SEC is much better at believing what they say and advocating for their conference. But I think we run into this problem that just because they believe what they say doesn't mean it's true. Correct. Like I think the Big Ten and SEC are very similar in that there are a few really, really good programs at the top. There are a bunch of teams in the middle that I don't always know what to do with, and I frankly don't think they are either. But for some reason, the teams in the middle, and I don't know if it's just brand name, I don't know what it is, but the teams in the middle in the SEC get benefit of the doubt, and all of a sudden it goes, oh, well, Tennessee's great and Florida's good, and whereas those teams in the Big Ten don't get that same consideration. And I don't really know. I mean, maybe there is no fix. Maybe this is just the way it's going to be, but I find it, as someone who thinks the SEC is artificially propped up in the middle of their conference, I find it very frustrating that just because they believe what they say, all of a sudden, a lot of people believe it's true.
I think if we can spend a little bit less time caring about which conference is better, that probably helps college football. I understand that conversation and the reason that argument is always so prominent is because, well, one, it's like a pride thing for people who identify with one conference over the other. But two, you think it's going to give you the benefit of the doubt if it comes down to this team versus that team for an at-large spot in the playoff. I don't know how much that really factors. I mean, yeah, it does, but like those situations are not, I mean, you might get one of those every year or every other year. I think probably too much is made out of, we spend too much time on pitting the Big Ten against the SEC. I realize they're the two entities in the sport that drive everything. And, you're really, you're talking about Fox, you're talking about ESPN, like they're it's impossible to separate the TV networks from the leagues at this point, since they're lining their pockets and giving them the kind of power that they have, giving them the ability to pay players in the way that they do now that rev share is a reality. But it's like, it's great for us to sit here and talk about. It's great for like the talking head TV shows, but in like the context of the season, I think it's overblown. Like, just, okay, you think the SEC is better, you think the Big Ten's better, like, let's just play the season and see who wins the championship at the end.
Mitch, as we get into, I assume you're heading out to Big Ten Media Days next week.
Yep.
What?
I will be there.
Who are you looking forward to talking to outside of the Nebraska contingent or hearing from?
Oh, there's a lot. Michigan. I don't know that I've like really got a great sense of with Sharon Moore about the whole suspension at the beginning of the season. I kind of want to hear what he has to say about that, and like what his answer is on why he chose to sit out the Nebraska game and coach the Oklahoma game. I know he played at Oklahoma and like they're going to honor him, but like, all right, you're being punished. Like, why are you picking the games that you get to be punished for? And why did you pick the Big Ten opener on the road against Nebraska in a seemingly difficult environment? So Penn State, I want to know how Penn State is handling things with this potentially target on its back as the league favorite. the normal stuff. I'm glad that there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks there this year. It's a good year for the league with quarterback play, as it is in the SEC. And the SEC brought a lot of its quarterbacks this week to Atlanta. So to be able to get the chance to hear from Drew Aller and Dylan Raiola and Nico, that's Luke Altmaier. Like that's good. Yeah, I don't know. We've got a meeting tomorrow with our writers and some of our people at The Athletic about our plan of attack. So I should probably give this a little more thought over the next 24 hours.
Mitch, are you interested to hear what Dylan will have to say from just a group of questioners that aren't necessarily kind of that hometown base or some of the other? He seems to do, we've seen him on some like national stuff as well, but it always seems to have the Nebraska twist to it. This is kind of the first experience we've had where he gets to go out and kind of see what the conference might have for him this time.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any, I think he'll handle it well. I think he'll be well prepared. I think he's probably getting, some education on this from people who were close to him, whether it's his dad, or just others that he is connected to in the sport of football. Like there's plenty of resources that he has that he can go to and say, all right, hey, what do you think? What kind of questions am I going to get? How should I approach this? He's going to take it seriously. And yeah, he will, I fully expect, say the right things. I don't know that he's going to provide a lot of headlines. Like that's not necessarily his style. I mean, this is not Diego Pavia at SEC Media Days. That's not at all what I think you'll get from Dylan. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him face questions in a different kind of environment. Like you get unexpected stuff for sure when you're standing there for 45 minutes or sitting there for 45 minutes at that table, and there, are 40 people around you that, and if you're in Dylan's shoes, like you recognize like 10 of them. So I'm sure he'll hear stuff about Mahomes and, just all the things that are on people's minds outside of Nebraska about Dylan Raiola.
That's Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, we appreciate your time. Enjoy your trip to Vegas next week. We'll talk to you soon.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mitch.
That's Mitch Sherman from The Athletic.
I love that comment. He's not going to make headlines.
I think he's probably right.
I think that's one thing that's completely undervalued when it comes to your expectation of a leader and quarterback, right? That if they're not going to, if their play is the one generating the headlines and what they do on the field is what does it, instead of what you have to say or what's going on around you.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Drama free.
Yeah. It's the less distractions, the better, right?
Yeah. We don't want no drama, as they say,
And truthfully, I mean, as much as the national conversation wants to poke fun at Dylan for the Mahomes lookalike and everything else that's come with that, and even his antics on field that copy some of the similar traits and everything that he does, pregame routine and all that sort of stuff, he doesn't bother him, and he doesn't let it bring it up and bring it into a different type of topic or conversation. He just, everything that has been about Dylan is strictly from what other people take out of context, whether he's walking into the stadium with visors on or whether it's his play on the field. That's it. He doesn't generate any other headlines other than that.
I'm sure playing their opener at Arrowhead Stadium won't bring any of that up at all.
Probably not.
I'm sure it'll be totally fine. Coming up next, we're going to try and get a hold of DB if he's done coaching and see what he's got to think about all this. There was one topic I was saving for him because I thought he would have an interesting take on it. So we'll see. Although, we haven't talked to DB in over a week and a half.
Who knows what could happen? Anything's possible.
It might just be a replay of the first hour, how that totally goes. I really don't know. I am going to have to ask him about he's not a big sides guy.
Yeah. So let's not bring that up. I don't need DB to also get on the Austin hate train this week, please.
I feel like we need to find out what DB feels about some of these sides choices. So we'll get to that and so much more coming up next year on Hurrdat Sports Live.
At Centrist Federal Credit Union, we understand that the journey of building your own business typically starts with modest beginnings. With a little help from our team of experts and small business loan offerings, you can take your vision and transform it into a more concrete reality. Centrist Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that. Give me that.
Johnson went back, comes in, she makes the catch, and it's a chance for a game-winning double play. That's how it ends. The Arkansas Razorbacks are headed back to Super Regionals. And they say
What kind of goes through your mind as you're preparing to give that final speech?
It's the worst speech of all time because you don't want to rehearse it because then it sounds like you knew it was coming.
It was 12-0. Like we were kind of anticipating, okay, like this is gonna end tonight. Like nobody wants it to, but it's going to.
10, 20 years down the road, the wins and losses, you don't remember them. All the success is great and it is very memorable, and those are part of the good memories. But I think the time we have together on the bus, in the locker room, at practice, on the field, are what lasts a lifetime.
You just go out there and you look those kids in their eyes and try to articulate to them how much they mean to you and this program. And then when you finish and you stand there and watch everybody, and it's hard. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. We are joined now by old DB. Looks like are you going back to school? What do we got going on here, bud?
I would have said young DB. I would have said young DB, not old DB, but that's
I am.
Ravi's prerogative.
You guys got me all professional in school, but considering I missed you guys, we had to make it happen.
I appreciate that. How has been, I know this is like in your element, even though you don't get to hang out with me, one of your favorite weeks of the year with team camp, getting things started off. Like, how's it going?
It's good. It's good. I mean, we're excited. It feels it's interesting. You know, we're not the team to beat, and so I think finding a way to be motivated by that and still have the Mike Tomlin standard is the standard, and we got a lot of new faces. So this has been a ton of fun, and I'm pumped, man. And I get to talk to you guys. Am I officially Wally Pipp yet, or how's that working?
No, you are definitely not. Promise me you are not. It has been a rough 3 days, DB.
What? So the only negative I heard, AJ, is you set Twitter afire by saying Memorial Stadium is not a tough place to play. Who's
DB,
paraphrasing? Is that true or is that not true?
So you know what? I actually came full circle, and I just want to distinctly apologize straight to you, because every time when you would send me text or you would be like, hey, this clip's so out of context, that's ridiculous. And I'd go, DB, I'm doing the best I can. the guy who did our clips that day, it was so out of context, it was ridiculous, and I got flamed for it. So now I've learned. I have been put in your shoes. I've walked a mile, and I understand what I've been putting you through. So I'm so sorry. How dare I do that?
He's not
That
going
is- so, so Memorial Stadium is not like playing at Marshall? Is that what you're saying?
Something like that, yeah. It's no Weymouth Field at Sydney High, but, it'll do.
I've been to Sydney. I don't know, man. It's a tough place to travel.
Well, yeah, when you've got half the grass dead and, you can't mow it because it's too dry out there. But, it'll work. It'll play.
Wow.
Honestly,
out. Shots fired.
maybe the most hostile environment I've ever been to might have been North Platte, Nebraska.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, believe me, hey, you're talking to somebody that got their tail kicked out there. So I listen, I think Telford's I think he just scored again.
I was just going to ask you, do you have nightmares of Colton Tilford still running
Yeah.
around?
I'm pretty sure he just scored again.
DB, I know we could ask you just about anything right now, but I got a message last night from a guy that I was talking some high school football with, and this is what he sent me. Quote, Class A, Class C1, and Class C2 are already a wrap. I don't know about that so far. I disagreed with him, especially in C1, but I don't know how far you're into kind of looking at the other classes and such, but I just kind of wanted to lay that out there. Or do you have kind of that same feeling from where the season ended last year?
Wait a second, though. Why is Class A a wrap?
Listen, I disagreed with that too, but that's what my friend was saying. So I didn't know if we had some opinions the other way.
Listen, I'm not going to get baited into that. I'll tell you this, though. That's a really good team they've got out there on 144th and Q. They're the defending state champs. I've coached on some staffs that have been in that position several times. So, I mean, I wish them the best, and we won't see them in the regular season. We've got a brutal opener with Omaha North. So we'll take, you want to go coach speak, but keep it a buck. We'll go one game at a time, but I don't know if anybody else in Class A thinks it's a wrap. So I'm probably not going to agree with that.
I mean, just from the standpoint, okay, they lost their head coach. That matters, right?
Listen, I try not to mind other people's business. And I know that's not a popular thing to not do. So whatever they do, I'm good with. They've got a couple of assistants that I'm really good friends with that I respect. And listen, we're going to show up and play and see what happens. We did our best to hang in there for a couple of quarters and a half last year, and that was supposed to be a done deal too. And I think we hung in there tougher and better than most think, and maybe they think they're better than a year ago, and I think we'll be better than we were a year ago. So we'll just, no disrespect to our opponents, right? It's like Terrence told me the other day. And I'm like, Bud, why are you so upset with Canelo? You're not usually like this. And thing was, Canelo has been so disrespectful with his record and who he's fought. And it's not Bud that's offended. He feels Canelo is disrespectful of the fighters in the fight game that he's fought. So out of respect to everybody else that's going to line up and play it in Class A and everybody else that's on our schedule and the Centrals and the Norse and the Millard Norse and all these other teams out here that are going to have good football teams. Yeah, I'm not going to subscribe. I'm not anti-Millard South. I'm just pro everyone else.
DB, I have to ask a question totally unrelated because Austin's coming with some hot takes this morning.
Look, you got me for 30 minutes. I'd ask me anything you want to.
Okay.
We got high school football. We can go where you want to go, just making fun of me. That's fine.
I'm not making fun of you. I just have some genuine concerns about some of the things that Austin's eating at cookouts.
Oh boy.
So, not barbecues. We cleared that up.
Yeah, he's
Are you eating outside?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's the start. What do we got?
So I asked him what his favorite side was. And I know you're not a big sides guy. You're more of you're getting after the meat and the grilling and the smoking. But so I asked him what his favorite side was, and he leads off with corn and macaroni and cheese casserole.
Oh, that is very.
Oh, it's fine.
Listen, and the least surprising take ever.
Hey, DB, you'll be shocked to hear there's not a spice in that thing when my mom makes it either.
No black pepper. It's too spicy. It's too spicy.
Oh, Claude have mercy. Is that not?
It's like a British dinner when we get out there. There's just no salt.
That is very on brand.
So then he hits me after that.
Is it warm or cold?
It's warm. It's warm. You put the little breadcrumbs and stuff on top of it, get it out there. What is wrong? I don't understand.
It's fine. It's fine.
Wow. So the second thing that he brings up, he's like, "Oh, I do like some coleslaw, whatever." Like, okay, cool. And he's like, "Yeah, every once in a while you put some like raisins and apples in there."
That's out of context. Applesauce is different than coleslaw. Out of context.
What in the hell are we doing putting fruit in coleslaw?
It's out of context. Applesauce is way different than coleslaw. But that's fine. That's fine. It's fine.
So are you only picnicking for like a couple of handful of minutes, or you anti-spoiled mayonnaise, or like what are we doing with slaws and salads in 90-degree picnic weather?
DB, look at me. Do I look like I ever shied away from a mayonnaise jar? This
Touche. Touche.
No, I mean, like
that's like me and hot sauce, Austin.
Are you not a hot sauce guy?
No,
or you
I'm
are
very much a hot sauce guy.
Yeah.
Considering we're staying on brand, we're
we're good. We're good. No, we're good.
Okay, so
I'm glad this is all getting out because we listen. We just needed a little DB to like get back in this, right? We just needed. We've had.
Listen, I'm not anti-raisin, right? I'm a big oatmeal raisin guy, and people frown.
Yeah.
Like I don't hate on the raisin. It just doesn't go in salads, and it doesn't go in chicken salad. It doesn't go in apple salad. It doesn't go in potato salad.
DB, so I know you're not a big sides guy. Do you have a go-to though?
So do I have to eat, or do I get my druthers?
Or whatever you want.
Like if I have to have a side and we're talking picnic, I would go. I'm probably gonna go macaroni and cheese.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I don't love it. I want to say chips, but that's not.
Chips are good.
Chips are a crowd pleaser, though.
But
you can leave with like nothing in your hands if you bring a bag of chips.
Yeah, I'm a huge, and I know I got on you about spoiled food, but I'm a huge deviled eggs guy.
Yeah.
So if somebody brought deviled eggs with, sprinkle a little paprika on top, little bacon bits, I'd be all in. But if I have to have a side, which I wouldn't, I'd probably go mac and cheese or deviled eggs.
There we go. Those are proper sides.
Yeah, I'm out on baked beans. I'm out on potato salad. I'm out on just about everything.
I've been on a weird potato salad kick lately. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, like I didn't.
I wouldn't tell anybody that, but I mean, it's fine.
You know me, DB. I'd say more than I should.
No judgment here.
I've learned my lesson this week. I learned.
I saw your local. So AJ, I saw Ravi's local hero yesterday. I was out at seeing my guy.
Oh my guy.
Out at Nebraska Beef, and spent some time out there, just having Sean love on me and meeting some of his team. And lo and behold, who'd he call in his office? One Mr. Connor Gillespie. This is funny, AJ, because Connor comes up on our show an inordinate amount of times.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "CG, you won't believe this." I said, "My co-host has, I would consider it a man crush." And Connor's, he's all business, right? He's super buttoned up. He's legit smart. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, he still talks about balls you hit and where they landed and how hard they were hit. And I said, lo and behold, you got on this Millard North blue Under Armour shirt today. And he goes, I'll be honest, it's the first time I've worn blue since I've worked here, and that's been about 6-7 years. And I go, oh, it's ironic. The Blue Jay and Mustang finally wearing blue, but he was so humble and gracious. I told Sean, I was like, Buick, I was like, how'd you get Gillespie? Good people, man. we like good people. And I was like, you know whose day that's going to make? The Millard North Mustang through and through, Ravi Lulla, who loves him some Connor Gillespie.
Dude,
I text you from Sean's office yesterday.
Yeah, you text me immediately. You text me, which I appreciate. No, I was telling Austin about this earlier because we had our 20-year reunion over the weekend, which Connor didn't go to because that is not his vibe at all. Like
you can tell.
Yes, like he's just he is I told you he's like a super low key dude, but good people, right? And he's one of those guys that I've ran into him like maybe a handful of times over the last 20 years, but one of those guys I just have like really a real fondness for, not just because he was good at baseball, but like we had classes together. Like I just really enjoyed hanging out with him a little bit. But like Connor's a good dude. You would say Connor.
You know me, like I'm gonna keep it a buck. And so when I shook his hand, I stood up. He's like, no, sit down. And I was like, no, listen. I'm a huge high school guy. I love baseball. I love local. I said, this is probably a way bigger deal to me than it is to you. And he gave me like the 2-hand shake. In full disclosure, man, I gave him the brotherly butt tap at his place of business.
Gave him a little good game.
Listen.
Was it the Millard North Blue? You felt too at home. You're like, we're good.
I was traumatized, but I'm such a fan.
That's awesome.
Couldn't believe it. I
love it.
I wanted to kick my own butt. I was like, God dang it, DP, you ruined it. This guy's never gonna come stop back in this office again.
No, he's a good dude. He probably appreciated it.
Hey, I meant to ask you guys a question since I'm used to being on the other end of this, not getting interviewed.
Yeah.
So Bulk Dog asked me a question. I want to know what's going on with where he got this.
Okay.
He said, I need context. So again, I'm asking the experts. He said, and he's got you guys clipped, right? So I can see the screenshot. I can see the picture. It says, I don't get why everyone thinks next year is the year. What am I missing? So what am I missing?
Is he talking about Nebraska?
Yes.
Are we talking about Nebraska next year's year?
Yeah.
I don't remember saying that at all.
No,
I really don't.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're a big 2026 guy though, right, Ravi?
Well, I mean, I said they're in the playoff by 2026. Yes.
Okay. So maybe he's just surmising, but do you think that's the consensus?
I think they're going to be better this year than most people do, but I do think that a lot of people are looking forward to that following year where Dylan's a junior and some of these guys have gotten a little bit older, the redshirt freshmen and the sophomores of the classes they brought in. So I would think of a fan base. I think collectively 2026 is probably where their like big hopes are, but I do think a lot of people expect a jump this year. So I don't know. I'm not looking past this year at all. Like, you know how I've kind of put it out there. Like, you know how I feel about this year. So I really don't know the context of where that's coming from.
I think it might've been yesterday. We were talking about Nebraska's floor and how the expectation for this upcoming season is that the floor at least is going to be raised where Nebraska's beating the teams that they feel that the program has passed, right? That they're moving on past that point. And I think we had put it maybe into relation of last year that we had said, well, in 2024, next year is that year. Maybe that's what it was. I'm maybe speculating a little bit on that, but I think that that's maybe where that came from. But yeah, I know that we've talked very heavily on 2025 being more of the year, and we did do some schedule talk yesterday as well.
It's interesting because I think, and clearly, I'm around these guys a ton, and just they come back and they test from having the 4th of July weekend off, and a lot of guys are hitting personal bests and they're hitting some miles markers, and clearly the off season has treated them well. Unfortunately, I listened to Caleb last night on Husker Sports Nightly, and
I was going to ask, how did you think his performance went?
Well, I mean, he's pretty vanilla. It's his personality, right? He's vanilla bean. He's not going to say anything too out of pocket. But one thing I did pick up on is he talked about them being much more athletic and more explosive, right? And he's a guy that I told this to Ravi a couple weeks ago. He hit the 22-mile-an-hour club, and He was pumped about that. He ran sub 4.5. He was pumped about that. And I said, well, why didn't you say anything? And he said, well, in typical Caleb fashion, he goes, well, we had 13 or 14 guys hit personal bests. So until those are made official or until we know where everybody is, I'm just minding my own business. Right. And so I'm just and I said to Ravi, I go, does 13 or 14 personal best, whatever they are. Right. Let's say I'm a 9.7 standing broad jumper. I come back after winter and summer conditioning and I'm 10 flat, right? Like that's a PB. So I don't know like in what categories or how fast or how explosive or whatever. I just know personal best, right? So my one takeaway from that was clearly the off season is working, right? He's lamenting about Kristen Coggins. He's lamenting about Corey Campbell, the strength and conditioning. And I said this to Ravi a couple months ago on the show. This was clearly a huge off season for progression because I think they're young and they're talented, but physically they want their bodies and their numbers to match year 3 culture. So you have to be year 3 physically ready to play. So I think hearing that, man, I think they're cautiously optimistic, and I'm cautiously optimistic because I do think they'll have a lot more capable bodies, but how it manifests itself, you guys, that's why I play the game.
So I have a question based on that, DB, because I'm just thinking real time here as you're talking through being ready mentally versus being ready physically. If you're a coach and you're in that position, would you rather your deciding factor have to be who's physically capable or who's mentally capable? Like, would you rather have an entire team of guys? Because I know this is tough for you because I know you're a big mentality guy. Would you rather have like, hey, I've got 53 guys, because we basically call it a 2 deep. I got 53 guys that mentally I know are all there. I don't know if I've got them there physically. Or you get, hey, I've got 53 guys that are there physically. The differentiator is going to be the ones that are there mentally. Which position would you prefer to be in?
I'm going to couch it a little.
Okay.
If my culture is good and I feel good about my culture, this is going to shock you. I want my guys physically ready.
You want the physical to be the differentiator.
I know I always talk mental, and it's paramount. But if my culture's good,
if you got the good foundation,
and it's self-sustaining with my players, physically, I want to see where we're at. So I will go with the physical portion for once in my life. And answering this question, I want my 53 guys physically ready.
So the reason I asked that, because normally that would be a no-brainer question. I kind of felt like that's where you might go because, like, I do think Nebraska mentally, I do think they're a lot closer to being where they need to be this year. I do think there were times where it's just like, that I just need a couple more guys to physically be ready. I think they really, really like their redshirt freshman and sophomore classes. Like, I think they really like where those guys are at. I just don't know if they thought they were physically ready yet.
Yeah, so where I'm getting kind of my feel from is kind of year 3 coach rule, where he seems to be he's like the players, right? Where he's defending the culture. You saw his, I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, but he talked about recognizing and acknowledging winners before they actually win. Like he reposted that. He favorited that. He's talked about, year 3, it's time to defend the culture. You saw the tweets about profiting off of fear and those days are over. Like he comes across as somebody that is supremely confident in the psychological profile because for him, he's always believed in the physical. Right. He's a big measurables guy. If you look like this and you test like this and you have these benchmarks. So the emotional part of the game is what he's always tried to talk about. you can't be afraid of failure. If we die, we die. You know what that meant? Like, just lay it on the line and see what happens. Or getting to the bowl game and saying, you know what, that burden is not these younger guys' burden to bear. It is for these older guys to get over the hump for their sense of accomplishment. And now, you guys, I really think this is crazy, but I think they've maybe graduated from the what's next because they got the bowl game out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So what is possible? When you can go here, listen to what I'm telling you. When you can go from, hey, what's next, like checklist, to what's possible, you've allowed yourself to think big. If you're going to think big, you have to train big and put yourself in positions physically where you can go there because you've already crossed a couple of emotional hurdles. That's the number one reason why I say I'll take the 53 physical this time, because I think the culture's good. And I think they're truly thinking about the what's possible. You know, you hear players, hey, we're more athletic, we're bigger, we're stronger, we're more confident. When I hear somebody close to me say that, and I kind of know how he thinks, I know what he's saying. He's saying, gosh, we're owning our own journey in terms of getting physically ready because the culture is set up. We cheer for one another. We show up every day. Dylan has graduated to the point where he's not pulling guys out of bed and saying, hey, man, hop on. He's saying, hey, ride with me. Not, hey, hop on. It's, hey, ride with me. It just comes across as different. When I ask Austin if I needed a ride and I said, will you take me?
Yeah.
That lands different than, hey, will you ride with me?
Yeah.
One sidecar. One is, I don't know if I can do this without you. And I sound a little weak. I think they're past that. Now, what it means in terms of wins and losses, again, I don't know. I just like the fact that I think internally, without the pressure of a winning season or a bowl game, you can now move on to what's next. And for these young pups thinking about what's next, I'm excited, right? If Coach Butler or Coach Williams or, whomever, Coach Holgerson is like, hey, this is going to be a competitive, spirited camp. Nothing's given, everything's earned. If that's the notion, and you're that close competitive-wise between peer groups, I'm telling you, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah.
Because you're pulling in the same direction. The talent disparity isn't huge between ones and twos and threes. And it's just good old-fashioned, grimy, competitive spirit. Let the best people win. When the best people win, you understand that I have a role to do. Maybe my role is to be, I'm the chaser, right? I need a Mosey to be able to say to Emmett, hey, man, I'll take your job. Like I want Ives to say to Mosey, look, young buck, you just got to this room. You're not ready for this. Or Ives to say, Mackay Nelson to say, you haven't been through what I've been through, right? I was the young, pretty 185-pounder from Wilkes-Barre that you guys didn't take serious because I wasn't from Philly. And have everybody be like, yeah, I'm for him, or yeah, I'm for him. Like the Devils, major in the majors, minor in the minors. The major is competition. The minors are who is actually competing. When you can separate those two, you give yourself a chance, right?
Yeah.
Cam's got to look at Cam and say, not today, old head.
Yeah. So DB, is that the biggest difference maker? And I mean, the conversation that everyone is kind of agreeing on is that next obstacle is overcoming these close losses, right? They've had some close wins. They've figured that part out in times last season, but is that the next step? Is this community and the tightness that the competition that's built up with the team now can get you through those tough moments when things don't go your way in an overtime or things aren't looking great in a fourth quarter? You can build yourself back in because you've gotten that internal competition going.
100%. That's not that. We don't own that anymore. That is not our story. We're writing our own narrative. Not on my watch, not today, not ever. Just because it has been doesn't mean it will be. And the more that those guys can focus on that, that is not your burden to bear. We have moved on past that. Not on your watch. That's the whole thing. See, Dylan gets to lead a group. I'll give you a real example because I know we're probably up against. Oh, you guys can do what you want.
We can do whatever we want.
We're not on traditional radio. I don't know if you know that. We can go as long as we want.
That whole phone home, that whole terrestrial thing. I know it's open. Right? Listen, I'll give you a prime example. See, Dylan gets to lead his troops offensively after a year of putting in the work and changing his body and having great command of the offense and having worked with Holgo for a full year now in the offseason. So when he gets you out of bed to go run routes or to go to Dallas or to go throw, it's not because he's the 5-star anointed freshman with the last name Raiola. See, that was last year. That was last year. He was just better than the next guy, but we don't know how good he really is, but he's in a position of leadership. See, the difference between last year and this year is, oh my gosh, he's still the same charismatic leader. He's still the same good hard worker. He's still the same talented 5-star. But you know what he's done? He's put in a year of being grimy and grindy and all in on leading his troops. So now when he picks up the phone and he says, hey, listen, I need you at one stadium drive at 5:45 so we can go early before the second part of the day. Everybody's like, oh, man, look at the poster child calling us in. No, it's look at the bell cow that's called us in and needs us to do work. That's the difference between year 1, Dylan, and year 2, Dylan.
DB, that's great stuff. We have to find a time that we can talk about the Scotty Scheffler thing.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
Because
isn't that amazing?
I am just endlessly fascinated. A, that he said it. B, that he feels it. And C, that he was so comfortable just like laying it out there.
You also want to talk about something that can be completely taken out of context, like the different clips that people can cut up of that. So different than his overall message.
Yeah.
So different.
And you know what's funny is sometimes we ask, like, why is sustained greatness so hard?
Yeah.
When we talk about distractions and, endorsement deals and like it's just hard to be good at something for a long time. You know what we almost never talk about? What we're fueled by or what motivates us to do whatever it is that we do.
Like internally.
The whole internal thing we completely miss. That's what makes guys like Federer or Tiger or Jordan Burrow or Michael Jordan. That's what makes those guys different. Long-term sustained greatness is a total intrinsic thing. And it's not for everybody because not everybody has the same catalyst on what fulfills them or what completes them or what makes them whole. We oftentimes don't like to be around people whose identity is wrapped up in an outcome. But boy, do we sure appreciate those dudes when they pull it off, right? It's hard to appreciate Brady in the moment. And it cost him a couple of relationships, didn't it?
Yeah.
But you know what he gets on the back end? He's the GOAT. He's the one that gets to decide, was the juice worth the squeeze and taking that route. It's not for everybody.
You know, the other thing that really stuck out to me, and we don't have to go super deep dive into this, is the dynamic of fulfillment in a team sport versus in an individual sport.
Yeah, right? I'll be curious to get your thoughts on that. You were quick to bring that up. I'm gonna go. I want to listen to kind of the perspective on that because it is different.
Yeah.
But when you get an individually driven guy like that in a team sport, we've seen that he can carry the crew with him. And it happened in New England.
It happened in New England. It happened in Chicago. It happened in LA with Kobe. Like, I think there's a lot of places that it happened. I do think it's a little bit more rare in team sports because I think your teammates can cover for you a little bit when you don't have it.
Somebody still got to cast the vision, baby.
Yes. But I think sometimes you can have moments where it doesn't have to just be you. I think that's the hard part about the individual sports. But we can get in to more of that later.
I'm all in. You open up 9:30 slots, man. I'm your Huckleberry.
All right, man. We appreciate you hanging out.
That's what they said in Tombstone. Is that what they said in Tombstone,
Yeah,
Austin?
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You got it.
Austin, Valkimmer, Jacobsen. Got it.
That is the greatest compliment I could have received this week. That just changed the trajectory of my week. I'm on a new high now.
DB's a big Val.
You can be my wingman anytime. I'm here all day.
All right, Maverick. We'll talk to you. We'll see if we'll squeeze you in a couple more times this week.
Dude, is there anybody that has more Maverick tendencies than I do?
Matt Verzal.
I mean, when I'm good, I'm good. When I'm bad, I'm awful.
All right, buddy. We'll enjoy the rest of your team camp week, and we'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it, fellas.
Thanks, DB. Appreciate it.
That's the normal co-host, DB. That's
he is.
Well, I mean, that's just
he should do this regularly. He's really good.
I don't know if any of us are normal, but that is the usual co-host, DB. I hope you enjoyed the little stop in there while he's getting his coaching game right. I know that speaking of fulfillment, I know coaching is one of the things that fulfills him the most. So I appreciate him having the time to join us while he's doing that this week.
I might have put some more motivation into him too. That was I didn't mean to do that.
You can see there was
he went complete competitive. It was what we talked about yesterday. That tunnel vision. He went straight into it right then.
He gets this
awesome.
He gets this look on his face where you're just like, oh, you did something.
Yeah, and it wasn't me. It was like I just said this is a message sent to me, but
you're just relaying the message.
I was.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a cop out. Wow.
Wow. That's all that I am.
Interesting.
Big cop guy. That's time for another day.
That's summer topics, baby. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. It's Hurrdat Sports Live. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.